Whoa, it is bright with this new background, huh? I just looked up at the screen. I was like, oh my God. Stand up, New York Giants fans. Victory Tuesday. 3 in a row, tic-tac-toe for the New York Giants. And I'm curious to get the chat's opinion of how you feel today as a New York Giants fan. I think there's some Giants fans that are over the world, over the moon, excited that we finally have something to cheer about in what felt like a lost season for a team that started the year at 2-8. We've now won 3 in a row. We've gotten to 5-8, albeit against some weaker opponents. Although last night was a pretty impressive win against the Green Bay Packers, a team that the last 2 weeks beat the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs back-to-back weeks. The defense continues to look great. We've created 12 turnovers in the last 3 weeks. And I think Wink Martindale, that was like the first thing I thought of after the game last night. I think Wink Martindale needs to be back. Of course, we've heard reports about coming out from Jay Glazer and several other people that there's been turmoil from within the coaching staff with Dable and Wink and everything else. But the way this defense has performed the last 3 or 4 weeks, I don't care who we're going up against. It's played at a very high level. And you look at some of the pieces on this defense, the way that some of the younger players have performed, I think there's a lot of hope on that side of the ball long term. Of course, I know you're going to have the doom and gloom from a large portion of the fan base, and I understand it because the quarterback's the most important position on a football team, and a lot of people feel like we don't have our long-term answer there. But I think there's a lot of encouraging young pieces on that defense that I think could be a big part and bright part of this future long term, whether it be Deonte Banks, Kayvon Thibodeau, Bobby Okereke. Pinnock needs to be mentioned, right? He had a terrific game last night. Dexter Lawrence, of course. So even Azeez Ojulari, even though he can't stay on the field usually, he got in on the mix. Micah McFadden's been a nice piece. So the defense, I think there's a lot of hope there long term. There's a piece here or there that we're going to need to add. I think we'll need to add another cornerback sooner or later. Cordell Flott had a rough game last night. But overall, I think there's a lot of hope on the defensive side of the ball. And the other thing that I took out of last night's game, and really the last 3 weeks before we get into Tommy DeVito, I know everybody wants to talk about him. But the other thing that I really took out of the last 3 weeks, you go back in time a month ago, right? I witnessed it. You witnessed it if you're on Twitter, if you're on YouTube. I'm not saying a lot of people said it, but there were whispers. There were people talking about it. Brian Dable, has he lost the team? He's an embarrassment. Are the Giants going to run through another head coach after 2 years? I think Brian Dable has shown you the last 3 weeks. You think about the variables. He's played these last 3 games with his third-string quarterback. And credit to Tommy DeVito. He's played as good as anybody could have hoped for. This team has gone out there and they've won 3 straight with all the injuries in the world, with a team that could have laid down and died and quit on the season. And we've seen it happen before. We saw it happen to Ben McAdoo. We saw it happen with Joe Judge's second year with the New York Giants when they were down to their second and third string. This team is going out there and they're fighting for the coach. And to me, that's a very encouraging sign long-term for the head coach as well. So I think there's definitely some silver linings to take out of this season. And we'll see if the New York Giants can keep it rolling. I mean, obviously, I think we have a winnable game next week. We all know that New Orleans is a very tough place to play in the Dome. Giants won last time we were there, though. Of course, the overtime game where Jones had that good performance there where we beat the New Orleans Saints. So we'll see. Saints have been very good this year. So I think that's a winnable game. And then obviously you got your duels with the Eagles. So we'll worry about that when they get there. But my mindset is, man, I'm happy. I'm happy for the players. I'm happy for the team. And I'll worry about a draft pick when the season's over. That's always been my mindset. I'm happy that the team's competing. I'm happy that the team's winning, and take it 1 week at a time. It's been fun. It's been fun to have something nice and fun to cheer for the last 3 weeks. And we'll see if DeVito can keep it up. But what's going on, man? He says, what's going on? Eat the Man. What's going on, Raphael? What's going on there? Terry, what's going on there? Todd, Zany in the chat. What's going on? No, you're all the trues rooting for this DeVito kid. Okay. And listen, I love Ayub. I love Ayub. We don't always agree on things, but I welcome that. He's respectful to me for the most part. He's never said anything disrespectful to me. I love Ayub, okay? But how are you going to get upset at fans, and how are you going to say that fans are trolling? They're taking part in the fun. For me, I don't understand how fans can't take some joy out of this, some fun out of this. This is our Linsanity moment, and I understand that we've been bad and we continue to be bad. But hey, I think there's some good things to take out of this season. That's just the way I look. I'm never going to tell people how to root for their team, but I don't think anybody's trolling because they're excited, over the way that the team's played the last 3 weeks, and they have found some enjoyment in the way that. And everybody loves an underdog. Everybody loves the movie Rocky. So I don't know. I see no problem with taking joy out of what Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants have done the last 3 weeks. I don't get why, people are making fun of people. I don't get it, but that's just me. And Andrew, what's going on, man? He says, Dable can develop quarterbacks. The defense has major potential. DeVito is capable. Bolster the line and add weapons in this house. Tommy Cutlets is a hero. Listen, here's what I'll say about that. Call me crazy, guys. I don't know where we're going to be picking the draft. Like, if you would have asked me 4 weeks ago, I told you what I thought, because obviously I didn't think we were going to win our next 3 games. There was no evidence that pointed that way. So I told you what I thought. I thought we were heavily leaning towards taking a quarterback. If you ask me today, I still think we're taking a quarterback, but I am not sold that we're taking a first-round quarterback, because if the Giants say the Giants win 2 out of their last 4 and they win 7 games, and we're picking 13th or we're picking 14th, I'm not sold that we're taking a quarterback. I'm not ruling out the possibility, but I could certainly see Shane convincing himself, okay, well, I'm not going to force taking a quarterback here, the 4th or 5th quarterback on my board, if I'm not going to trade up. And I could roll with Jones where I have to pay him anyway, bring DeVito back and maybe draft a developmental quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. I don't think that's off the table at all. Now, 4 weeks ago, I would have felt completely differently. But things change. You know, the team's won 3 games that I didn't expect them to win. So gotta wait to see how the rest of the season plays out before I could really talk about what I think the team's going to do in the draft. But yeah, I think that's one really positive thing to also take out of the last 3 weeks. I am not sold, not even close to sold, that DeVito's the long-term answer at the quarterback for the New York Giants. Okay, let's start by saying that. And it's fun. And I get that people are jumping on the bandwagon and they're having fun with it. But when you look at it, the grand scheme of things, let's also be fair. The defense has created 12 turnovers in the last 3 games. Like, the main reason we're winning these games inevitably is because of the defense. But DeVito's been fun. And I definitely think he's asserted himself as a guy that could be a long-term backup for this football team. But I still think you need to look to improve the position. But I don't think they're going to force a quarterback pick. We'll see. But it's been fun the last for me, it's been really fun the last 3 weeks. Blue Collar says, keep winning. Tommy looks good. The kid played 3 games. Draft Harrison, move Neil to guard, and sign right tackle DJ and Tommy battle next year. I could see it. I could see it with a developmental quarterback. But again, it all depends on where we're picking and how Shane feels about the quarterback prospects. The one thing I'll say about Neil and Blue Collar, I've talked about that I was definitely trending and leaning in that direction with you. I was strongly in favor of the idea of shifting Neil from the right side to the left guard going into next year, playing him on a side that he was more familiar with while playing at Alabama, building up his confidence. Felt like maybe he would transition better at that position. Playing next to Andrew Thomas should help his growth. I don't think that's going to happen, because Shane was asked about that directly. I think it was during the bye week, if I'm not mistaken, by the press, and he didn't hesitate. He came right out and said he's playing tackle. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think Evan Neal's going to start next year as the right tackle, and we'll take it from there. But hey, things change in the offseason. We'll have to wait and see. But if I had to guess next year, I think Evan Neal's your starting right tackle. Doesn't mean they won't draft one. Suzola says, DeVito takes us to the playoffs. I am buying his jersey. Listen, if DeVito takes us to the playoffs, that would mean he'd probably have to win out. Like right now, the last seed right now is 6 and 7, who we beat. But there's so many teams that are 6 and 7. You have to figure one of them is going to finish 9 and 8, which means for the Giants to get in, they would probably have to win out. So that would mean he would have to sweep the Eagles, he would have to beat the Saints, and he would have to beat the Rams to close out the season. So if he did that, I'd buy his jersey. I'd buy his jersey, for God's sakes. But but one game at a time, man. One game at a time. Let's see. Who would still be the starting quarterback for 2024, Jones or DeVito? I mean, listen, Nelson. If is Jones healthy to start the year, right? I mean, I would lean, if Jones is completely healthy, that he would be the starter. But hey, weird things have happened. I mean, if you would have asked, 49ers fans, 3 starts into Brock Purdy's career, they would have probably said, well, Trey Lance is going to get that job back when he comes back healthy. If you would have asked Patriot fans, not that I'm comparing DeVito to any of these guys, don't take this out of context. If you would have asked Patriots fans 3 games after Bledsoe got hurt, is Brady going to be the long-term answer? They said, no, Bledsoe's going to be the starter when he comes back. So you got to take it one game at a time. But if you're asking me right now, yeah, I would lean if Jones is healthy and we don't draft a quarterback in the first round, he would be the starter to start the year, but he will have a shorter leash next year. That's for sure. Chris, what's going on, man? Isaiah Hodgins, Hyatt, and Wandell have played better. DeVito effect. Listen, the one guy that really stood out to me The one guy that really stood out to me last night, and I posted on Twitter right away after the game, and I don't think he got enough credit because his stats may have not jumped off the page. He had 6 catches for 79 yards. He also had that big run for about 20 yards, which set up the Saquon Barkley touchdown. Wan'Dale Robinson looked like that was like, you remember how people went bananas over the Kadarius Toney performance when he played the Dallas Cowboys, where he had like 200 or 174 yards or whatever it was, and almost all of it came in garbage time when the Giants were down by 25. That's why, to me, stats don't tell the whole story. Yesterday, that performance was much more impressive to me than the Kadarius Toney performance against the Dallas Cowboys. He made some incredible catches in some big moments. I'm a fan of Wan'Dale, and a lot of people destroyed that pick 2 years ago when the New York Giants made it, and he got hurt, and it certainly didn't seem like it was trending in the right direction. I don't think Wan'Dale's ever going to be a number one wide receiver. Don't get it twisted. But I definitely think Wan'Dale Robinson is leaning towards being a strong contributor for this New York Giants football team long term. I don't think he's a gadget player. I think this guy can play. You saw that route that he ran there to close out. Like, dude, this guy can play, and you can use him in so many different types of ways. He looks like he's fully recovered from the injury. I'm a fan of Wan'Dale, man. I think Wan'Dale is going to be a really nice player for this New York Giants team long term. And Hyatt, yeah, I mean, the thing with Hyatt is I just want to see them continue to try to expand his route tree. Of course, he wasn't used too much yesterday. I think he only had 1 catch for 8 yards, didn't have a whole lot of targets. The Giants didn't really take many deep shots down the field. The one deep shot that they took was the play that Wan'Dale kind of saved Devito on what was a really bad pass. Maybe some of that had to do with the weather conditions. Maybe some of that had to do with the game plan, the opponent they were going up against. But yeah, I'd like to see Hyde continue to get more involved. I definitely think he could be a nice contributor for this team long term. Let's see. And Greg says, if Tommy DeVito went round 1, we'd be delighted with his progress. I'm not strictly a stats guy. And a lot of those stats, if we're being fair, before the last 3 games came in garbage time. But hey, he's played well. He's definitely played well for a rookie. And Greg, when you think about it, this dude won 3 straight games. Eli Manning won 1 game his whole rookie year with a better football team. He will never be Eli Manning. But I'm just saying, yeah, if he was a first round pick, we would be like, wow, okay, he's showing some promise. It's a fair point to make. Cowboy MLB says people need to start talking about Tommy DeVito being quarterback 1, not just quarterback 2. He's playing like a starter. If he keeps improving, he could be a long-term answer. Let's see how the season plays out. We got 4 more weeks. I think DeVito, it's so crazy to me how the NFL can evolve so quickly when it comes to a player, when it comes to a team. It is insane because I was on Twitter, and rightfully so, at least was a topic of conversation. People were saying before this week that the Giants were tanking because they were starting Tommy DeVito. Now there's a large portion of the fan base that are saying, at least it's possible. He could be a long-term answer at the quarterback. I'm not there yet. I got to see a lot more evidence before I'm there, but I'm encouraged. And I've definitely graduated to the idea that DeVito is going to be a guy he's going to be a backup in the NFL at the very least. Like, he is going to be a guy that has a job in the NFL. And I'm going to tell you what, if the Giants try to stash him in the practice squad next year, if a team has an opportunity to grab him, they probably will. It's not easy to win 3 straight games in the NFL, especially when you have a supporting cast that the New York Giants are providing him with. He's an NFL quarterback. I don't know if he's an NFL starting quarterback, but he's an NFL quarterback. And we'll see. We'll see how he plays over the last 4 games. Manny says, what happened to Trey Nathaniel and the Dogs? We had the bye week. So that kind of, slowed things down. And this week, I don't know. We just didn't. We'll definitely be doing a lot more of those. But the bye week, we just didn't do content. We took a week off. Nelly says, Tana, I don't think DeVito is our long-term answer, but I'm having fun and enjoying watching the Giants right now. Plus, as long as he's winning, I'll be there cheering. I mean, that's how I feel. I'm happy that we're winning football games. I'm happy that DeVito's a big part of it. And that's all there is to it. I'm going to continue to root for him as long as he's starting quarterback for the New York Giants. It's fun. A lot of people have frequently compared this to the Jeremy Lin situation. And yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Jeremy Lin situation. I think, I made a mistake with the tweet I put out last night. I said that it's starting to reach insanity levels. I agree with somebody that responded to it. I think it's already reached insanity levels. And if DeVito ever beats the Philadelphia Eagles, if the Giants beat the Eagles, on Christmas Day and Devito plays well, can you imagine the reaction that is going to come out of the New York Giants fan base? Like, that's when I think the conversation starts to at least pick up a little steam. Can this guy develop into something, like something long-term? Is it more of a possibility than we once thought? That to me is the make or break game in terms of, is this going to hit like insane levels this year with this DeVito thing? It still feels like a fun story. He had a really great drive last night. He made some plays when he had to. If they ever win that Eagles game, man, that's when this thing starts to get really fun. Let's see. Sherrod says, I'm 100% going to take a team effort to be. Oh, of course, it's going to take a team effort. The Chancellor, man, what's going on? Bookhead says, I'm just enjoying the story. Let's wait and see. At a minimum, he's proven to be a good backup. And who knows from there? Just happy the dude either way. Yeah, dude, that's the way I'm looking at it, man. It's a great story. It's fun. And as Giants fans, we don't get a whole lot of that. And I'm going to appreciate things as they come. I'm not going to just throw the season away because the team's not playing well. If there's something to be happy about, if there's something to cheer for. And I'm thankful that DeVito did that for me this year, because this season was looking more and more like Joe Judge's second season, where there was going to be nothing to take out of the year. It was going to be abysmal. And at least there's some positivity to take the last 3 weeks. The defense has certainly gotten a lot better. This season to me is still by a huge disappointment. I said going into the year, I'm not even going to talk about individual players from a team standpoint. For me, what was good, obviously I cared what the record was, but for me, the biggest thing for me was how we competed from within the division. And listen, we still got 2 more division games, and we did beat Washington, but we got destroyed against the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll see how we do against the Philadelphia Eagles. But it's still been a very disappointing year, but I definitely think there's some good things to take out of this over the last month or so for the New York Giants. So we'll take it 1 week at a time. Let's see. Gary says the scout that said Tommy DeVito is an undrafted free agent needs to pick our round 1 quarterback. Yeah. What do you guys think? Do you think it has more to do with how much of this do you think has to do with Dable? Like, how much more confident are you as a Giants fan if we do draft a quarterback in the first round, that seeing what Dable's been able to do with a third string undrafted free agent quarterback, what he could be able to get out of a guy with high potential? I think that to me is probably the most encouraging thing out of all of this, is that you've seen Tommy DeVito be able to look decent, which is a lot more than what we got when Jason Garrett was calling the plays and Mike Glennon was thrown into the lineup, right? So to me, that's really encouraging for me. Let's see. They are. Dallas is very good. Top 2 or 3. Are they top 2 or 3? I mean, they're playing like top 2 or 3 now. Are they top 2 or 3? We'll find out. I mean, I think San Francisco is clearly above them. I'll say this right now. I think Dallas is the second best team in the NFC. I don't even think the Lions are close. The Lions are playing horrible, and I think Dallas is better than the Eagles. I think Dallas is the second best team in the NFC. AFC, I think I'd put the Ravens above them, at least slightly. The Chiefs are not playing well, but it's still Pat Mahomes. I would have the Bills above them, personally. I think Josh Allen is starting to hit his stride. But, yeah, I mean, Dallas is certainly a top 5 team. I hate saying that as a Giants fan, but it's the truth. They're certainly a top 5 team. And they're certainly, I think, right now, the clear-cut second best team in the NFC, at least right now. Let's see. Chris, you have to give Dable credit at 2-8 judge. Exactly, Albin. That to me is what stuck out more than anything else. That's the most positive thing that I take out of this season is I think Dable is showing you that, listen, these players aren't going to quit on me. They're going to go out there and they're going to give me everything they got every week. And that to me is the most encouraging, more so than anything else. That's the most encouraging thing for me over the last 3 weeks. I say we move forward with Tommy and draft an O-line. So, Anthony, you're of the mindset of let's bring back Jones and Tommy next year, because Jones is obviously coming back. Let them battle it out. We'll see if Jones is healthy. Maybe draft the day 3 quarterback and keep building up the team overall. That's the mindset you're at. I'm not destroying that mindset. I'm open to that mindset. It all depends to me where we're picking and how Joe Shane feels about these quarterback prospects. But I'm not going to be a guy that comes on here and just has a one train line, one one line of thought. I had one line of thought when I thought that the Giants were going to be picking second when everything looked doom and gloom, but that does not appear to be the case anymore. So I'm open to multiple possibilities this offseason, that's for sure. What's up, Thomas, man? Thanks for popping in the stream. Greg says, wish we got to see DJ with AT back. He's the difference. I don't know, man. I don't know. Do I think Jones would look better? Of course. Of course he'd look better. He didn't have Andrew Thomas. We were going up against, I mean, you look at the teams we went up against the first 4 weeks, the Niners, the Cowboys, the Bills. Oh, he didn't even play the Bills. He was hurt for that, right? He went up against some, really good defenses. So, and Andrew Thomas was out and Barkley was out. So, yeah, Jones would look better. But again, for me, long-term when it comes to talking about Daniel Jones, that's maybe even more of a concern for me than his play. And his play should be a concern based off this year. But the guy hasn't been able to stay on the field. And that's very concerning. And he had 2 injuries this year. Let's see. What's going on, Coach Ed, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Thanks for popping in the stream. Benjamin says, Chris, you think it might be quick to crown Devito when 2 of the last 3 wins have come against the Patriots and the Commanders? I'm not crowning Devito at all. This is what I've crowned Devito after 3 games. It's the most fun I've had watching the Giants since last year when we had the playoff run. And I have crowned him a guy that I think could be a backup in the NFL, which if you would have asked me that before the year started, I would have said, no way. If you would have asked me that 5 weeks ago, I would have said, no way. I think he can be a backup in the NFL. And that's good. I mean, look around the league. This year should show you more than any other year, with all the injuries we've had at the quarterback position, how important backup quarterbacks are. So I think he's graduated to that level for me. I am confident enough to say that Tommy DeVito is a quarterback that could go out there and not lose you a football game. And that's essentially what a solid to decent, good backup quarterback is. I think he can be that. I don't think he's much more than that right now. Maybe he evolves. Maybe I'm open to changing my opinion. Lucid, what's going on, man? Yo, Chris, it's Keyshawn's Springer Supreme. Change my ad on here. What's going on, man? And Twitter. Who is your overall pick you hope the Giants land? I mean, again, this is it's such a hard question because I don't know where we're going to be picking. I don't know, man. If we were picking first, I think you guys know my answer. I've talked about how much I've loved the guy for 3 years, Caleb Williams, but we're not going to be picking first. So to me, it all depends on where we're picking, and I can't give you a good answer there until I know what draft pick we have. But to me, Caleb Williams is my quarterback 1. After that, I mean, I like Drake May from what I've seen. Jaden Daniels, a lot of people seem to like, but for me, it's Caleb Williams is far and away the best quarterback prospect in this draft for me. But we're not going to get him unless we trade up. Who knows? Maybe the Bears are open for business. But yeah, I mean, I love Marvin Harrison Jr. Definitely a guy I'd be open to drafting if we weren't going quarterback. There's several good linemen in this draft. It's hard. I can't really even start to speculate on that before I know what pick we have. Like last night going into the game, the Giants had the 5th pick before the game started. Now we have the 8th pick. If we win next week, we're going to be picking like 10th or 11th. So I can't even start to speculate who I think the New York Giants should take. Neighbors is a good wide receiver. He's there's a couple of possibilities, but I got to know where we're picking before I can say, oh, that's the guy that I think the New York Giants should take. Let's see. Let's see. Honestly, if we don't go quarterback, I could see us going edge for sure. I have to do more research before I start to say which edges I think I would take in the first round, but edge is a clear need for this team long term. I don't believe that Azeez Ojulari is a guy that that we could rely on long term. I don't think I think he's going to have the same fate that Lorenzo Carter did. I think when he becomes a free agent, we're going to let him go because he can't stay on the field. So, yeah, I definitely think we could take an edge. I think we could go defensive line as well after losing Leonard Williams. I definitely think we could take that early in the draft. Let's see. Layback says that uniform they wore yesterday was fine. It's the best uniform in football. I think it should be the Giants permanent jersey. I really do. I think it should be the Giants' permanent jersey is the throwback jersey. No joke. Like it's my I love the color rush jersey, but the Giants throwback jersey, that should be I think we're 3-0-1 the last 4 games that we wore, or the only 4 games I think we've worn it. We should wear it every game. It looks better than the jersey we wear. Let's see. Coach Ed says, where do you prioritize interior offensive line and interior defensive line? Heavily, Coach Ed, heavily. Dude, I mean, you look at the Eagles. The Eagles have been doing it for years. Why do you think the Eagles are so good? Why do you think the Eagles are so good? The Eagles have had the best interior defensive line in football for like the last 5 years. And why do you think they get away with that tush push? Everybody says, oh yeah, well, Jalen Hurts is really strong. Jalen Hurts does all these, he works out his legs and all this, and he's this really strong quarterback. No. The reason that they're so successful with the tush push is because their offensive line, the interior specifically, are freaking molars. You think if it was that, you don't think Taysom Hill's strong? You don't think the Saints could do that? No. Well, why can't they? Because they don't have the same line that the Philadelphia Eagles do. Yeah. Interior, especially with this interior offensive line. I hope that John Michael Smith continues to get better. I think he's had a solid rookie year, but our guards are non-existent. You don't know what you have with Josh Azudu. You don't know what you have with any other guard, Glowinski, but Bredesen. There's no long-term answers there. So that is a huge need of ours. And I think the interior defensive line is the same. Leonard Williams was a good player. We need to replace him. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, there are so many needs on this team, even though I think there's a lot of good things too. I think there's a lot of bright spots in core pieces like Deonte Banks, like some of our wide receivers, but I still think we need a premium number 1 at the wide receiver spot. We're going to obviously quarterback, but we're talking about everything else. Interior offensive line. We still may need a tackle. Hopefully Evan Neal develops into what we thought he could be, but very well may need a tackle. Interior defensive line. Continue to need depth there. We need another edge, and I think we need another corner. And if we lose McKinney, we'll need a safety. So we'll see. What's the chat's thoughts? To me, this is becoming more of an interesting debate. I couldn't believe the stat I saw yesterday when I watched that game. Xavier McKinney and Bobby Okereke have not missed a snap this entire year. That's insane. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Because part of me is like, well, that kind of speaks to the lack of depth on this team. The fact that Bobby Okereke can't come off the field for a single play. The fact that Xavier McKinney can't come off the field for a single play. But obviously, our biggest pending free agent is Xavier McKinney. And the franchise tag for Xavier McKinney next year is going to be $19 million. So I don't think you could tag him. Where are you at with Xavier McKinney? Where's the and good to see you, Giants Grow in Florida. Where's the chat's thought process on Xavier McKinney? Are you willing to sign him at any cost? Is there a range where you'd like to bring him back? Because that to me is going to be the biggest question mark going into the offseason. Last year, of course, it was Barkley, it was Jones. This year, what do you do with Xavier McKinney? I think it's an interesting topic. Also, what do you do with Barkley? So there's going to be some interesting things that the Giants have to deal with this offseason. I'm not giving them $19 million, Flip. I'm not saying I want them to do that. But where do you draw the line? What are you willing to do? Because he is a good player. He's played well this year for the Giants. Let's see. Mike Nixon, what's going on, man? He says, hey, what's up, Dana? I'm so impressed with how the defense has been playing the last 3 or 4 games. It looks like we found a lockdown corner. I love that pick when we made it. I said it on draft night. That's the guy I wanted, where we were picking and for the needs that we have. I love that pick. And to me, when you think about and you speculate if we are going quarterback, what type of quarterback would the Giants look for? Well, I think you look at the types of players that the Giants draft. Deonte Banks was a guy that they drafted for upside. He had off the charts, like his combine was off the charts. He ran like a 4.35, like ridiculous, right? In terms of his athletic ability. They trade up for Josh Allen. Same thing, right? A guy with off the charts. So I think they would go for a high ceiling type quarterback if they were going to be drafting one in the first round. But that's what they did with Deonte Banks. They went for a guy that I thought had the highest ceiling, at least where we were picking at the cornerback position. And he looks like he's going to be great. I'm thrilled with Deonte Banks. He made that great play last night. He's been really solid all year. And when you look, and I don't care what his PFF grade says. I think it's like 49 or something. When you look at the wide receivers that Deonte Banks has been lined up against this year, the fact that he's a rookie, I mean, my God, he's had a tremendous rookie year, much better than I could have anticipated. So I'm thrilled with Deonte Banks. I think he's going to be a really good player for this team. 15 million for X. You'd be willing to go to 15? Okay. Banks is hardly talked about, which means you're doing. Yeah, he's been great. David says, hey, Dan, I love hearing from you, especially on a Victory Tuesday. It's a beautiful thing. Taking you around. What's going on, David, man? Thanks for popping in. Thank you to everybody for being here. Appreciate all you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoying your Victory Tuesday as much as I am. What's the chat's thoughts? Let me get the chat's thoughts. I didn't look at the chat when I talked about it earlier. Where are you guys right now today? Are you happy? Are you ecstatic? Are you sad? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you right now as a fan base? Were you team tank, lose at all costs, Tommy DeVito's the devil, or are you just all about it? Are you all in? Are you like I'm team Italian right now? Everybody's doing this. Where are you right now as a New York Giants fan? Brandon says at 4, New York Giants take Jaden Daniels, quarterback LSU. I'm absolutely ecstatic, Murdoch says. Alvin says I'm saddish. Tank at 2-8, now the playoffs. Team Italian, Super Mario said. Good feelings. Let's go. I'm all in, sink or swim. I'm with you. I'm with you, Dredd. I'm going to live in the moment. I'm going to enjoy it. Life is too short, man. Life is too short not to enjoy moments when things come along like this and it's fun. Is it probably going to happen? No. Let's be real. Right now, the New York Giants are a game out, but they're a game out behind like 6 teams, and they play the Eagles twice. So is it probably going to happen? No. But I'm going to enjoy it. Whatever happens, happens. You can't control what's going to happen in the draft. Hopefully, Joe Shane hits on whoever he picks, and this team continues to build right. Let's see. Jay says, can Tommy Cutlets reach insanity level? I think he already has. I really do. I think he already has. I don't think he was at the insanity level before last night, but last night, in front of the whole world, primetime football, under the lights, Monday Night Football, he has a game-winning drive. He wins his 3rd straight game. The whole stadium is doing this. Hey, the whole stadium looks like you're at an episode of the Jersey Shore. Suddenly everybody's Italian. Like, I knew New York had a lot of Italians, but now everybody's Italian. My God. So I think it's already reached Linsanity levels. I think it might exceed Linsanity levels if the New York Giants were ever to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. But I think it's already reached Linsanity levels. Let's see. No Ma'am says, first it was breaking Lamar's record with NFC teams. Now we broke LaFleur. Yeah, exactly. Lamar, I think, career is 19-1 against the NFC now. And LaFleur was, 16-0 in December before last night. People think people think I was tripping. Final drive was Brady-esque. Jarrett, I think you're tripping a little bit, but you know what? I'm all about it, man. I'm glad that you're enjoying the moment. Let's see. Bavit, what's going on? Haven't watched the Giants since I went to the Dolphins game and Jones was banged up. What have I missed? Bavit, what have you missed? Bavit, do you like the Jersey Shore? If you do, you missed a whole lot. I felt like we got to watch Godfather 4 last night. Let's see. Putting an undefeated in anything against the New York Giants is always hilarious to me. Well, yeah, at least in recent history. He hasn't come close to insanity yet. Really? You don't think so? I don't know, man. Because in football, a game, 3 games is kind of equivalent to probably like 4 games in the NBA. The insanity thing lasted, 17, 18 games? And it was incredible. It became a national story about halfway through. Maybe it hasn't reached that level yet, but it's getting close. It's getting close after last night. Brian says, I love everybody, everything, and everyone. Go effing team. Let's go, man. Let's go. Christian Torres, what's going on, man? Let's see. In a way, I feel bad for Devito because now he has some expectations. If he comes crashing down, I don't feel bad for him. He's living it up, man. At the end of the day, I think in the back of everybody's heads, to me, there's no risk, high reward. Like, there are no expectations right now for Tommy DeVito. I still don't think, for the most part. Of course, you're always going to have over-the-top fans that are going to think he could be the next Tom Brady, whatever. But I think most people that try to think logically don't think right now that Tommy DeVito is going to be a great quarterback. I think that it's very little risk, high reward. Yeah, he's not the guy that's making $40 million a year. So no, I think you live it up and you see if the dream can continue. Playboy Phil, what's going on, man? Tana, with how pitiful our season went overall, all the teams and especially the Giants, do you see Joe not being scared to give a king's ransom for a quarterback? We're satisfied with the Jaden Daniels and get Xavier Worthy with our second pick. Yeah, listen. I don't think Shane's going to be scared if he identifies that there's a quarterback worth trading up for. He will do it. I just don't know if he's going to first off, I don't know if the team's going to be willing to trade down. It's picking at the top of the draft. Secondly, I don't know if they're going to be able to match up on a deal because there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks. But I have now graduated to the idea of let's let the season play out. I'm not going to start to speculate on what we're doing in the draft. I'm not going to do it. 4 weeks ago, I was team quarterback. I was like, okay, this team's going to be picking top 2. This team stinks. We're starting Tommy DeVito. Of course, in the back of your head, you're saying to yourself, well, this has Mike Glennon all over again. We're going to lose the rest of our games. We're playing the Eagles twice. We're playing the Rams, who look pretty good at the time. The Saints. We're not going to win any of these games. Now we've won 3 straight. Now I'm saying to myself, well, I don't know where we're going to be picking. I got to see how this team plays throughout the rest of the year. Because, again, let's say the Giants win 2 out of their last 4. They go 7-10. And they're picking 15th, 14th. If you're Shane, you could say to Mara, well, listen, Mr. Mara, and I'm trying to speak from Shane's perspective. I know there's a lot of fans who are like, oh, got to go quarterback no matter what. I could see Shane going, well, listen, Mr. Mara, we played the toughest schedule in the NFL this year. We finished winning 6 out of our last 8. We had injuries all over the roster, and we're not in a position to draft one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the draft. Mr. Mara, schedule eases up a bit next year. Give me another year to continue to build this team. I wouldn't be stunned. I think we're taking a quarterback at some point in the draft next year, but I got to see what we're picking. If we're picking 13, 14, 15, I don't know if we're taking one in the first round. Let me see what we're picking. Are we picking 4th? Are we picking 9th? Are we picking where are we picking? So I got to see where we're picking. Let's see. Jason says, I thought KT was a bust. Wow, he looks good. Dude. Kayvon Thibodeau had another standout performance on primetime football. Dude, when the lights come on for Kayvon Thibodeau, he becomes an animal. He had, I think he had a half a sack or a sack. He had a batted ball. He had a nice tackle for a loss on a run play. Dude, people need to stop with the quick judgmentals on rookies. And listen, sometimes you're right. Evan Neal looks horrible, but Wan'Dell's starting to look better. Kayvon's look great. Micah McFadden's looked really good. It takes time for some of these players to develop, and Kayvon Thibodeau looks tremendous. Looks like he's going to be a franchise-changing edge rusher. Love him. I mean, the guy's going to have 15 sacks this year. He's played great this year. Also, Keith McKinney is a very good safety. The cap is a myth. DJ's contract is up after the 25 season. Well, we'll see. We'll see what they do at the quarterback spot. I think if you ask me today, where am I leaning? I'm leaning after 24. Jones probably will be cut. That's where I'm leaning. But my opinion may change. I don't know. But that's where I'm leaning because then you can get out of the contract. Obviously, we're not cutting him after this year. David says, I'm not a tanker. I want to win and give Shane and Dable their guys to win. And as long as DeVito is the starter, I will root for the kid and let the draft chips fall where they may. Go Giants, get those W's. Let's go, man. That's David. That's it. 1 week at a time, 1 game at a time. I'm not going to worry about the draft. I'm not going to worry about the draft right now. I see people say J.J. McCarthy. I'm either going to look like a fool or I'm going to look smart. We'll see on draft night in 3 years. You could say, Chris, you were an idiot. I like J.J. McCarthy a lot more than a lot of people. If the Giants took J.J. McCarthy at 12 or 13, I'd be happy. I see a guy that I think has high traits at the NFL level. But I'll worry about the quarterbacks and the draft and everything else at season's end. Bill, what's going on, man? Spent enough time this season being said, I'm done. Just enjoying the hell out of whatever happens and loving the North Jersey moment. Let's go. Tommy DeVito, let's go. Let's see. Joe Shane Train says, hey, Antonina, you are one of my favorites, but do you think Shane will be training up for a quarterback? Oh, again, depends. Are the teams willing to trade down? Are we in a position to do it? Here's what I'll say. If the Giants are in that 5 to 7 range, which is very possible, and there are teams willing to trade down, I do think he will inquire. But I think there will be other teams that inquire. So I think a lot. This is what I'll say. This is what I feel. If the Giants are picking in the 5 to 7 range and they want a quarterback, they will not be taking them in the 5 to 7 range. They will be trading up. That's my honest opinion. Whether or not they'll have the trade partner and whether or not they will want to trade up for a quarterback, I don't know. But if they are in love with a quarterback, they're not going to sit on their hands and be like, "Oh, I hope that Drake May falls to 7. I hope that Jaden Daniels falls to 7." They're not doing that. There's too many teams that need quarterbacks. There's too many rich quarterbacks in this draft. If we're picking the 5 to 7 range, we're going to trade up for a quarterback if we're taking one. That's my honest opinion. I don't think they're going to sit and hope that one of them falls to them. I don't know if they will. We'll see. Depends where they're picking. Depends how they feel about the quarterbacks. J-Man says, how many more games does Cutlets need to win to earn a competition in camp with Jones' next camp playoffs? Or is it nothing? I definitely think listen, we don't even know if Daniel Jones is going to be able to start the year next year. I think he'll be back at some point. We don't even know if he's going to be able to start week 1. We don't know that. So, that's why like when there was this debate last week of whether or not Tyrod Taylor should start or Devito, if I'm Dable, first off, you could certainly make an argument that Tyrod Taylor is a better quarterback than Devito. Obviously. I understand it. And he probably is. Probably. I don't know that anymore. I mean, it's close. But in my opinion, there wasn't a big enough discrepancy or difference between the two where I wouldn't want to find out what Devito could be. Like, I don't think Tyrod Taylor is the type of quarterback that's going to win you a football game. He's the type of quarterback that won't lose you a football game. And for me, the next 5 weeks, if you have the opportunity to find out if Devito could become a quarterback that won't lose you a football game and a guy that could step in for Daniel Jones, if that's the route you take next year to start the season, or step in for a rookie quarterback for a few weeks if you go that route, I think you need to find that out. And I think that's what the Giants will do over the next 4 weeks. But yeah, I think that it's possible Devito could start next year to start the year, especially if Daniel Jones is not ready to go. It's possible. Let's see. I think he's a long-term starter? No. But hey, maybe my opinion will change. I hope it does. MYJ26 says, I think we're in good hands with Dable. We were 5-8 with a third-string quarterback. Who they get the most out of? Good coaches win. We won 3 straight. We have great pieces to build around. Bright future ahead. New York Giants 26. I like the positivity. I like the positivity because I've seen a lot of negativity. Not that I could blame you in recent weeks. So I like that you're starting to come around. I like the positivity. I do think there's a lot of building blocks for this team long term. But I still understand, obviously, why the fan base is doom and gloom. Because at the end of the day, what do the most consistent teams in the NFL have? They have an offensive line and they have a quarterback. Giants right now, well, let's be honest. We do have a quarterback. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. But we do have a quarterback. We got Mr. Cutlets. But, the best teams in the league, the teams that compete week in and week out, they have that game-changing quarterback every year, rather. They have an upper echelon quarterback, and they have a very good offensive line. We don't have either one of those. The offensive line did play better last night, so that was good to see. But obviously, we need a lot more growth there. Greg says, but I do think there's a lot of building blocks on this team. I do. Greg says, the team's not giving up on Dable is worth more than a higher draft pick. How many teams stay drafting high year after year, win at all cost? And we've got and I think the other guy is Wink. Like, a lot of us were reading reports and speculating, is Wink Martindale going to be back? Well, now I think he's going to be. So, yeah, the way the team has played, I think has certainly saved a few jobs for sure. Well, not that Dable's job was in jeopardy, but Wink's might have been. Raphael says, Super Bowl pick 10, I got Niners Ravens. I had the Niners before the year started. I definitely didn't have the Ravens before the year started. I think I had Niners Bills. I think I had Niners Bills at the start of the year. So I'll stick with that. I think here's what I'll say about the Bills. If the Bills get in, because if you look at the Bills' remaining schedule, it is still a gauntlet. Like, I think they play the Cowboys. I think they play the Dolphins again. If the Bills get in, they're going to be hot. And they would have gone through the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Dolphins. And I look at the Bills. I look at their point differential. They're plus like 130. Like they should be so much better than what their record indicates. If they get in, I think this is the year the Bills could go on a run because the Chiefs to me just don't look like the Chiefs. The Miami Dolphins haven't beaten anybody all year. They haven't beaten a single good team all year. And the time they played the Bills, they lost by 28 points. Last night, they lost to the Titans. The Bengals are done. The Ravens are dangerous. If the Bills get in, I think they're my pick out of the AFC. We'll see if they get in. But I pick the Niners every year, so I'm sticking with the Niners. Let's see. Zach says, happy holidays, my bro. What's going on, Zach, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, buddy. Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Niners and Ravens are playing the regular season. Yeah, they're playing on Christmas, same day that we're playing the Eagles. So that should be a great game. Excited. I'm excited to watch that one. That was actually the Super Bowl. Remember when the lights went out? Like 7-8 years ago? That was actually a really good Super Bowl. Devito's agent, 49ers Cowboys NFC Championship. All depends on how the seeding works, Crispy. Like, if the Eagles win the division, which they're probably going to, because they probably will, because you guys play a really tough schedule and they don't to finish the year. But hey, maybe Tommy Cutlets will help you out. But if the Eagles win the division, you're going to have to more than likely play the 49ers before the NFC Championship game. Because if you get the 5 seed, you're going to play the NFC South winner. You'll win that. But then as long as the 6 or 7 seed don't win, you're going to play the Niners in the next round. So it all depends on how the seeding plays out. Nick, what's going on, man? Stand up! What's going on, man? Thanks for popping to the stream. And Jason Benjamin says, didn't hear Gary or Clark's name all night. The offensive line played great. And what's his name gave out Dable gave out the game ball to the offensive line. So that was nice to see that they got some recognition. But yeah, the offensive line didn't give up a sack. And credit to Devito. Devito took a ton of sacks that he probably shouldn't have taken in recent weeks. He did a really good job sensing the pressure and getting out of there and picking up yards on the ground when the pocket started to collapse. So some of that credit definitely goes to Devito as well. But yes, the offensive line certainly played good. You think back to the biggest play of the game when Devito hit Wandell on the game-winning drive. Look at the offensive line on that play. They held up. They gave him a lot of time. So yes, the offensive line certainly played really well last night. Devito's best play of the game was the throw to Isaiah Hodgins. That throw was insane. That was DeVito. Every once in a while, you see a play and you're like, he's pretty good. Maybe this guy isn't a joke. He's pretty good. That was one of those throws where you're like, well, that's an NFL throw. That's a starting quarterback throw. Not saying you start a quarterback. That's a starting quarterback throw. That was a really good throw. Let's see. And Cy Guy says, I'm taking it 1 week at a time, focused on the Saints. We must not let Kamara get loose. Kamara's always a guy that you got to worry about, right? In that Saints offense. Gary was hurt. Not sure if he played. Maybe that's a good. Well, I thought Rashawn Gary played last night. Welvin. If DeVito continues to develop, then Shane will draft for the roster and not even touch a quarterback. I want the draft to go by without any. I think we're taking a quarterback at some point, Phil. I just don't know if it's going to be in the first round anymore. I was set that it was going to be. I'm not set there. I think at some point they take a quarterback. It might be day 3, but I think at some point they'll take a quarterback. Gary says, big fan of DeVito. Seen him playing at Syracuse, and I'm an Eagles fan. So happy for his success and upset with the win last night. Yeah, I said I'm an Eagles fan, and I'm happy for a Giants player. Well, if you're an Eagles fan, oh, never mind. You're a Syracuse fan. I was going to say you're probably a Penn State fan, so you probably like Saquon Barkley. Hey, man, DeVito's hard not to like. He's hard not to like. He's a hometown kid. He's living his dream. And he brings some fun to the game. He's hard not to like, man. He's a really likable guy. Big Blue says, Chris, how did Saquon fumble that ball? I think it was just a fluke play. I mean, Saquon historically, I say this, and he's fumbled like twice this year now. But historically, Saquon Barkley has been great in terms of ball security. I think it was just a fluke play. He fell to the ground. What was so crazy to me on that play, I don't know if it was luck or I don't know if it was actually like having the wherewithal to know not to touch Saquon Barkley in case something like that were to happen. But what was so amazing to me on that play was that the Packers defenders never touched Saquon and allowed him to fumble that football. And if you go back and watch the replay, you kind of saw the Packers players go out of their way to stay away from touching Barkley. In most circumstances, the defender would make sure that they touched the running back down there. So in a way, I felt like Green Bay, I don't know if it was luck or if they intentionally did that. But yeah, I think it was just a fluke play. It happens. But it was good. It was good that Devito was able to bail him out. And Pete, what's going on, man? Chris, what's up, friend? Chicken cutlets were my favorite meal as a kid. Tommy Cutlets is written in the stars. Let's go. Good to see you, Pete. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully, I know Pete's a big movie guy. What movies have you seen, Pete, recently? I've been trying to catch up on the some of the Oscar contenders this year. I want to see. I saw Oppenheimer, which I know you weren't huge on. I saw. I haven't seen Barbie yet. I know that was like a huge movie this year. I haven't seen that yet. I saw the Flower Moon movie. I thought that was great. But yeah, I know you're a big movie guy. Good to see you, Pete. Chris says, Tane, if you had the opportunity to have a meal with Devito, what are you eating with him? I mean, you got to go Italian. You go with the chicken cutlets. What are we talking about? Come on, Chris. You got to go with Tommy. You got to go with the cutlets. You go with the chicken cutlets, man. Jason Benjamin says, I don't get the love for McCarthy. He plays in a run-first offense. If he's there in the second or third, maybe we will see if he impresses versus Bama. For me, I like his traits. I understand that they play in a run-first offense, but I don't hold that against him. I like his traits. I see a quarterback. He's got great zip on his throws. He's got really good mechanics. I think he processes well. A lot of people knock his footwork. I'm not saying he's as polished as C.J. Stroud coming out, who I thought was one of the most polished quarterback prospects I've ever seen. He had some of the best footwork I've ever seen for a quarterback coming out of college. But I like him. I see high-end traits. I don't see Superman traits like Josh Allen, but I see high-end traits. I like him. But, hey, I could easily be wrong. Quarterbacks are – it's a crapshoot. Nick says, if Tommy beats the Eagles, I will eat cutlets for a whole week. Exactly. You got to go with the cutlets, man. I didn't see Godzilla -1 yet. That's the new background day. I haven't seen the new Godzilla yet, but people have been raving about it. My brother actually saw it, and he said that the special effects aren't great, but he said the story is incredible. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard for a Godzilla movie, it's awesome. And I think it's like killing it at the box office. Jason said, there you go. Godzilla -1 was a good movie of 20. That's the next one I got to see. So, a lot of people have been raving about that. That's the next one I got to see. Let's see. Peter says pizza. What, for the meal that you would go with you got to go with cutlets. It's Tommy Cutlets, man. Let's see. Hunger Games. Is the new Hunger Games any good? I don't know. I like the original, but after that, it kind of went off the wall for me. Maybe I'll have to check it out, but I'll wait. That's one of those movies that I'll wait till. Pete, man, what's going on, man? Killers of the there you go. I know you're a movie guy. Killers of the Flower Moon was a phenomenal Scorsese work. The holdovers I got to see. That's up for Best Picture, or it's going to be up for Best Picture too. With Paul Giamatti, I think his name is. He's a great actor. There you go. Especially if you love Giamatti as I do. A lot of people are raving about the other one that it kind of looks like a really weird movie, but it looks. I'm intrigued by it that people are raving about. I don't think it's come out yet. Is the new Emma Stone movie. I think I want to see that one. It looks like it's kind of like Frankenstein meets, I don't know. It looks cool. It looks different. So I think that's the next one that I'm excited to see. But I definitely want to see the holdovers. I've heard that that's been getting rave reviews. Godzilla is real. Somewhere up the coast of Japan, supposedly, he started the tsunami. I believe that, Barry. I believe that. What's going on, Fabian Mannix? Popping in the stream. If Devito beats the Eagles, he earns starting position next year. If Devito, he could run for mayor and he'd win. That's how I feel. But we'll see. Hollywood movies are evil and shouldn't be consumed. Why? Walvin says it was cool. It was a prequel, so it's the backstory. Oh, I'll have to look into it. Raphael, man, what's going on, man? It's popping. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed your day. Thank you guys for all the support you always show on the channel. If you haven't done so, by the way, I should have said this. I was so excited to talk to all you guys on Victory Tuesday. Official sponsor of the channel. It's right there. Use the promo code. They match 100 up to the first 100. Underdog Fantasy. Link is in the description below. It's easy to use. You go there. It's prop picks. It's overs. It's unders. If you want to pick the Lakers game, for instance, tonight, LeBron James, is he going to get a double-double, higher or lower on a half? Obviously, I usually pick the Giants. I haven't been doing well with it, but it's fun. Put $100 in, you get a free $100. So check it out. Put in promo code ETS. Link in the description below. Underdog Fantasy. Go over there, check it out. Thank you guys for all the support that you always show on the channel. Let's see. DJ Tana, have you watched Heat? I have. Yeah, of course I've watched Heat. Dude, two of my all-time favorite actors of all time in that movie, Pacino and De Niro. Of course I've watched Heat. Of course, that's like asking me, do I have a penis? Am I a man? Of course I've watched Heat. If you're a man and you haven't seen Heat, what are you doing with your life? Of course I've watched Heat. Barry says, Chris watched This Boy's Life with DiCaprio and De Niro. I don't know. I don't think I've seen that one. Let's see. Ian Mike says, I know it's a long shot, but how do you feel about the Giants playoff hopes? How do I feel about the Giants playoff hopes? I feel the Giants have about a 2% chance. But hey, ask me in 2 weeks. If we beat the Saints, it'll go up to about 10%. So ask me after next week. If we beat the Eagles, it'll go up to about 30%. So 1 week at a time, man. 1 week at a time. Let's see. Who knows nowadays, Blurry says. Let's see. So you say there's always a chance, JC. Always a chance. What's up, Luis, man? Thanks for popping in. Thank you to everybody for being here. Hopefully you guys enjoying your victory Tuesday as the New York Giants get to 5-8. They win their third straight. Tommy D is taking us. People are buying in. I think they have officially bought in to the Tommy DeVito hype. You guys are all in on it. I love it. Welvin says, best movie series of all time. Dude, I mean, if you're a fan of my channel, you know that's my favorite movie of all time. Maybe you wouldn't expect that. I'm in love with that movie. And I appreciate that movie even more than I did when I fell in love with it. When you watch the movies the way they're made today with all green screens and everything else. Lord of the Rings, my favorite trilogy of all time. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of good quotes in Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber is one of my all-time favorite comedies. Let's see. What if DeVito is like Vince Papale for the Eagles? Well, then it'll be a fun story for a year. John says, agree. They are the best ever, and it's not close. Oh, Lord of the Rings? Yeah, I love Lord of the Rings. Bill says, I'm 100% bought in and have been. Was very happy when they signed him to the practice squad. Now it's just insanity, and I'm loving it. What, you talking about DeVito? You knew, Bill? You knew when they signed DeVito to the practice squad, you're like, this guy's gonna turn New York on its head. This guy's gonna be the hottest thing since sliced bread. You knew, man. Kudos to you, because I did not. Nick the Wick says, a Bronx Tale or Scarface? Ooh, what does the chat think? I know this is a very unpopular opinion, and you're going to hate me for saying this, because I know, like, Scarface is like the ultimate guy movie, and I get it. There's cocaine everywhere. There's hot women. He's on the beach. There's big guns. I think Scarface is overrated. I enjoy it. I think it's good. I think it's overrated. Bronx Tale. No doubt about it. I have Bronx Tale way above Scarface. Maybe you're going to hate me for saying that, but I go Bronx Tale. Let's see. Neil, what's going on, man? The Departed is one of my all-time favorite gangster movies of all time. Barry says, what? He's upset. He's upset. Bronx Tale, put him in the bathroom. Put him in the bathroom. One of my all-time favorite lines. Brandon says, do you plan on doing? Yes. I know I said I was going to do it during the bye week. Yes. I'm definitely going to do some Knick games, especially as the season comes to a close. I'm definitely going to do some Knick games. Peter says the DeVito thing has become insanity. I think it's starting to pass insanity. Peter says Bronx Tale and it's not cool. I really believe that. I would have Bronx Tale pretty high above it. Tana, have you seen Inception? Of course. Inception is one of my 10 favorite movies of all time. There's a handful of movies when after I saw it, I left the theater in awe. And when the first time I saw that was one of those movies. It's one of my 10 favorite movies of all time. In my opinion, the greatest Christopher Nolan movie of all time. Yeah, I love Inception. Let's see. Strider says, Chris, how did you feel when the Knicks traded Obi Toppin to the Jazz? I mean, I love Obi. He was fun. But he didn't fit here, right? You had Julius Randle, you were paying a ton of money. He couldn't get on the court. It was unfortunate, right? Because I think when the Knicks drafted Obi Toppin, they didn't envision that Julius Randle was going to play as well as he did after that, obviously. And then Randle, as much as Knicks fans hate him, played at a near all NBA level. So Obi Toppin couldn't get on the court because they play a similar style of basketball. So I just think it was an unfortunate situation. Of course, if you could go back in time, the Knicks should have taken Tyrese Halliburton, who's suddenly one of the top 8 players in the league. But I liked Obi. He just didn't fit here. Let's see. John Kirk says the Devito Hodgins touchdown connection involves the lowest paid players on a roster, which, wow, I mean, that's got to be accurate, right? DeVito's making less than $1 million, and so is Hodgins. Almost every quarterback in the league is making more than DeVito makes. So it makes sense, but that is an insane statistic. Good. That's a nice little nugget by you. Jason says, Battle of the Five Armies was my personal favorite Lord of the Rings movie. Also, Goodfellas. What do you mean, Battle of the Five Armies? The 3 Lord of the Rings movies, you had Fellowship of the Ring, you had The Two Towers, and you had The Return of the King. Maybe you're talking about a specific battle from within one of the movies, but those are the names of the movies. Also, Goodfellas 1 and 2 are the greatest gangster movies of all time, just a timeless movie. There's only one Goodfellas, but Goodfellas is definitely one of the greatest movies of all time. Peter says, if you've ever snorted one Peter Peruvian bro, Scarface was on it. I've never, but he was on whatever. He was definitely on it. Oh, he's talking Hobbit. Oh, come on. And listen, I enjoyed the second Hobbit. It was okay. The Hobbit? You're kidding me. The Hobbit is one of the, I'm going to say it right now. And no disrespect, it's opinions. The Hobbit is the most disappointing trilogy in the history of movies. This is the problem with Hollywood. Lord of the Rings was a 1,200-page novel, whatever it was, each novel, the 3 stories. They made 3 movies out of that. Acceptable. The Hobbit's like a 300-page children's book, and they made 3 movies out of it. They could have made that movie in 1 hour and 20 minutes. The Hobbit was awful. Let's see. Let's see. Best movies of all time: Raging Bull, Apocalypse Now, and Godfather. Serpico goes second. Those are all great movies. All definitely all-time great movies. Do you have any content with Chuck Knox? I don't, but I like Chuck Knox. I do watch his content. I like Chuck Knox. I've never worked with him before, but I do like him. It's hard not to like. You want to talk about a legitimate Giants fan. Jason says, I meant Godfather 1 and 2, classic movie. Oh, I was going to say, there's no second Goodfellas. But yeah, of course, Godfather 1 and 2. I personally like Godfather 2 better than Godfather 1, but you can't go wrong. Both of them are great. Godfather 3, I don't know what you were doing with that, but Godfather 1 and 2, all-time great movies. Wolf of Wall Street. You guys are dead. I love talking movies. You know that, especially during a chill stream when this season, we're having fun with Devito and everything else. I could talk movies for hours. I would love to expand on my movie channel. I love talking movies. Wolf of Wall Street, my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio character of all time. Wolf of Wall Street. So many iconic scenes. I don't think it's DiCaprio's best acting performance. It's my favorite character of his. DiCaprio's best acting performance is The Aviator, which in my opinion is one of the 3 or 4 greatest acting performances I've ever seen. He won Best Actor for it. It's deservedly so. Even though the movie was his performance was incredible. But it's my favorite DiCaprio character of all time, Wolf of Wall Street. That movie's awesome. Debbie Does Dallas, of course. Of course. Debbie Does Dallas. Every kid should grow up watching Debbie Does Dallas. Catch Me If You Can is awesome. Ryu says, Chris, did you know when a young Corleone killed the man who killed his parents? I think the old man shouted, I went to the... Peter says, Catch Me If You Can is better. Catch Me If You Can is up there, too. I mean, two of the all-time greatest actors of all time. I mean, DiCaprio when he was still young, and obviously Tom Hanks. Certainly up there for me. What About Bob is one of the... What About Bob is one of the most underappreciated, unknown comedies of all time. I friggin' love Bill Murray. If you haven't seen What About Bob, you need to watch it immediately. Richard Dreyfuss, Bill Murray, one of the greatest comedies of all time. Love What About Bob. Pete, man, what's going on, man? Yesterday's game, Devito played against 48 pressure rate. Also, in all his starts, with exception of the first Cowboy game, he's faced he's faced the highest pressure rate for any Giants per PFF. That's an insane stat. Listen, I mean, Devito did a great job in terms of and listen, the offensive line played well yesterday. I'm not taking anything away from him. Gable gave him the game ball, deservedly so. They didn't give up a sack. They had a good game. But Devito did a really good job yesterday in terms of escaping the pressure, using his legs. He did a really good job yesterday, no doubt about it. The offensive line is still far from a finished product. And our offensive line is pitiful. It was pitiful when Jones was the quarterback. It's pitiful when DeVito's the quarterback. It's pitiful all year. It's pitiful when Tyrod Taylor's the quarterback. Our offensive line is pitiful. Let's see. How can we make the playoffs? Somebody asked. Where's the question? How can we make the playoffs? There we go. Mr. Check, it says, how can we make the postseason? Well, the first thing you could do is pray. Not just on Sunday. Like, you would probably need to go to church every day of the week, 4 hours a day, and just pray. Like that, you start there. But realistically, we probably have to win out. Like, if we win out, we'd make the playoffs. But obviously, that's a snowball's chance in hell. I don't think we'll make it if we lose a game, because even though there's like 6 teams right now that are 6-7, you have to figure one of them is going to find a way to go 3-2. So if one of them goes 3-2, and you're not going to get in at 8-9. So I think we'd have to win out. You'd have to win every game for the rest of the year to make the playoffs. Let's see. Raise your hand if you're sick of Tommy DeVito, his parents, and his agent. Why? And I get it. They're overdoing it, but you know what? It's fun. I'm not raising my hand. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. I guess I understand where some fans are coming from, where it's making a mockery of the Giants. I don't know. I think it's fun. I'm not raising my hand. I'm enjoying it. Hope you beat the Saints, because I hate the DC. Get those 2 losers off the team. I hope we beat the Saints too. Pete says, Knicks without Robinson. Do you see a move coming? I hope. I think the Knicks need. I don't know if they will, but I hope. I think the Knicks need. One more huge piece to be able to truly compete. Like you've seen when they've gone up against the big dogs this year, you've seen the difference. When they've gone up against the Celtics, when they've gone up against the Bucks, they need one more big piece if they really intend to compete. So I hope. I don't know who that piece is going to be. But if there's an opportunity there, I think you have to start to think about it. I mean, Jalen Brunson's not young, right? He's 27 years old. I think you got to start to be aggressive if there's an opportunity there. Let's see. Chris, I hope the Giants consider FSU quarterback Travis Joy. He got hurt, but maybe as a day 3 guy. Bill says to get to the playoffs, the Browns W, Bears, Bucks W, Packers. Got to start rooting against guys in our. Yeah, I mean, of course. But Bill, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not even concerning myself with the possibilities until, like, here's what I'll say, Bill. Right now, I'm just having fun. I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm on the cart. I'm enjoying the ride. That's it. I'm trying to get some enjoyment out of what was a miserable season before it. I will start to concern myself with the playoffs if we win our next 2 games. If you beat the Saints, which I think we could, and you beat the Eagles, and you get to 7-8, then I'll start to say to myself, okay, now I need to pay attention in terms of the games from around the league. Can we actually do this? But until we win our next 2 games, for me, I'm just enjoying it week by week with no expectations. That's it, man. I'm just enjoying the ride. Pete says The Departed is fire. The Departed is one of the greatest movies of all time. Deservedly won Best Picture. I love the Departed. Probably my favorite gangster movie of all time. Let's see. Manning in 26. Oh, you mean you mean Cooper Manning or whatever his name is, Arch Manning? I mean, I'd like to see him play. He finally got a snap, but he didn't even throw the ball because Texas was winning by a ton, and he came in and handed off the ball to close out the game. I'd like to see him play a full year before I could really start to say, oh, maybe he's a guy that we could look into. But let's see what we do this offseason before we start thinking about 26. Raymond says, I think we're teasing ourselves watching Tommy DeVito bringing us pride, knowing he will be traded next season. Why is he going to be traded? Why would the Giants trade him? Why would the Giants trade DeVito? He makes nothing. Why would you trade him? You keep him. You save $6 million on next year's cap by letting Tyrod walk, and you keep DeVito as the backup. We're not trading DeVito. He makes nothing. He's going to be the backup next year, more than likely. Or, well, depending on what we do in the draft. But I don't think they're going to trade him. I see no reason to trade him. Let's see. If you had to choose best coach, Parcells or Belichick, I mean, listen, obviously I'm a Giants fan, and I didn't get to appreciate Bill Parcells. My memories of Bill Parcells are after the Giants, to be honest with you. But like Dan Reeves is really the first coach I could remember when I started watching football consistently. But I remember Parcells with obviously the Cowboys and the Jets and the Patriots. But you got to go Belichick. Belichick won 7 Super Bowls. You have to go Belichick. And Belichick constantly, and I know he learned from Parcells, but Belichick constantly was evolving. And Parcells is one of the greatest coaches of all time. But I just think Belichick is in a league of his own. They try and trade DeVito, and half of New Jersey will burn MetLife. They try and trade DeVito, there's going to be a lot of hits in the New Jersey area. Exactly. Why are we teasing ourselves? Just enjoy the story. We have no idea how it's going to end. That's it. 1 week at a time, 1 game at a time, 1 throw at a time. I will start to take this, like I said, but I think this story it jumps another level if you're able to somehow turn this into a 5-game winning streak and you beat the Saints and then you beat the Eagles. Then I think it starts to get like at least somewhat serious. And you're like, maybe we found something. But right now, I'm just enjoying the ride. And if we're being honest, Bookend, and I'm not trying to knock DeVito. I'm thrilled at the joy he's brought me this year. I'm thrilled at the way he's played this year, which is much better than I thought he could. But if we're being honest, we're not winning the games because of DeVito. We're not losing the games due in large part to DeVito. Like, he's not losing us the games. But we're winning the games because of the defense. I mean, our red zone defense last night was incredible. We were getting constant pressure. We created 3 turnovers. We've created 12 turnovers in the last 3 games. It's hard to lose football games when you're averaging 4 turnovers created a game. So the defense is what's winning us these games, but DeVito's been fun. I'm enjoying the ride. Let's see. Chris Tyler says, I think we're going to have to win out. You mean in terms of taking DeVito's more serious? Probably, but I think it becomes more intriguing if we somehow are able to win our next 2. Stand up. What's going on, Luis, man? Thanks for popping in. DeVito is a much-needed distraction. Yeah, but the defense gave up the go-ahead touchdown the last day. No, listen, JC, can't take anything away from DeVito. Had a game-winning drive last night. That's no joke. Didn't run the ball once. He had to do it with his arm. So in a minute 30, got him down in field goal range. he played great. He played great. I mean, I don't think he was the main reason we won the game, but he was certainly a part of it. So I'm not taking anything away from him, and he's playing well. Baritone says maybe going to hell in a bucket, but at least I'm enjoying the ride. There you go. Twisted Logic says if Devito somewhat plays good in both Philly games, then we have to seriously talk about him starting over DJ. That'll be. I mean, I don't even want to think about it because I don't know what they're going to do in the offseason. Like if the Giants end up taking a first-round quarterback, this all goes out the window. Then you're like, okay, well, obviously he's going to be the starter at some point next year. So got to see what we do the whole offseason before this even becomes a topic of conversation. But hey, I'm just enjoying the ride like a lot of people are saying in the chat. We have to be impressed with the play of, yeah. Did DeVito's no? I mean, right now I'm definitely leaning he will not start next year. But come back to me at the start of next year, maybe my opinion will be different. No, it was a total team effort win last night. That's why I enjoyed it. Yeah, outside of special teams. Outside of special teams. Flip says DJ gets 40 to sit on the bench. I mean, listen, Flip. First off, I don't think so. I provided DJ is healthy to start the year, which none of us know will be the case. But if he is, and we do not draft the first-round quarterback, I do think Daniel Jones will be the starter. But I don't think he's going to have a long leash. Like, if the team's struggling the first 3 or 4 weeks, they will not be scared to make a change. That's where I'm at with DJ right now in terms of where I think they are. If they draft the quarterback, everything goes out the window. But if they do not in the first round, no, I think Daniel Jones starts the year as the penciled-in starter if he's healthy enough to start the year. But I think he has a shorter leash. And Pete says, right now, the Williams trade gives us pick 44 in second. Kudos to Shea. Yeah, a lot of luck involved with that. But still, yeah, since we made the trade, the Seahawks have done nothing but lose. And now the Giants have what's more than, I mean, probably trending towards being right now our pick's probably going to be around 40 to probably right around the same area. I mean, between 40 and 44 right now in the second round with those 2 picks, which gives you an opportunity to potentially trade up. So we'll see. Chris, when does your crystal ball get out of the shop? Jones will start when he's healthy. Let's be real, people. Again, if we don't draft the first-round quarterback, even if we do draft the first-round quarterback, I think Jones will start the year as the starter. But obviously, he will not finish the year as a starter if we draft the first-round quarterback. Seti says Dexter Lawrence as a lead blocker on short yardage situation should be a thing. I think you've brought this suggestion up before. I don't hate that idea. You know what? I'm surprised that what surprises me is that more teams I'm surprised more teams haven't tried to copy what the Eagles are doing. But again, it's a lot easier to do it when you have that strong interior offensive line. But if I was a coach, I would do it with my running back. Like I would get like a big running back so I don't have to worry about hurting my quarterback. Like if I was the Packers, for example, I would get A.J. Dillon and take the snap behind center on a 4th and inches and just do the tush push. Nobody's stopping that. The other thing, I was thinking about this. You guys tell me your thoughts on this. And I've noticed it a few times this year when I'm watching football games. This is a rule change. This, in my opinion, is, and I've never seen anybody bring it up. This is something that needs to be changed in the NFL. When a team gets a penalty on an extra point, if they get like an unnecessary roughness penalty, and I've seen it happen a few times, whatever, roughing the kicker, unnecessary roughness after the play, the way that they enforce the penalty makes no sense to me. What they do is they take the ball at the 35-yard line where you normally kick off and they bring it to the 50. Where is the penalty in that? When you kick it, they're just going to kneel the ball and they're going to start at the 25-yard line. The rule change that needs to happen when something like that happens, if they take the touchback, they get a 15-yard penalty and you start at the 10-yard line because there's no penalty. You're just going to take the touchback like you always do if they kick it at the 35. It just bothers me. I've seen it happen like 4 times this year, and I'm like, that's not even a penalty. They're not even going to be penalized for that. Like, they should have to start 15 yards further than they would have had it not been for the penalty. What do you guys think? Out of the box thinking. But I think about these random things while I'm watching football games. I think that's a rule change that should take place. Adam, man, thank you very much, man. He says, where is Darren Waller? Will he return this year at all? Long-term thoughts on him. Waller has it, dude. I mean, I think we all expected it, if we're being honest. Waller hasn't been able to stay on the football field. He's been constantly hurt all year. But I expected it. So it was kind of a trade where it was like you knew what you were getting. You were hoping that you were going to get 8 to 10 good games out of the guy, and that's why we didn't have to give up much to get him. We gave up a late 3rd round pick, but it is what it is. The guy's been banged up. He was a stopgap guy that you were hoping would help you give Daniel Jones a fill-in number 1 option. He hasn't been able to stay on the field. Let's see. They should nullify the extra point. Well, yeah, no, but T, but in the instance that I'm talking about, T, it's not the team that kicked that got penalized. It's the team that's on defense that gets penalized because you move the ball up 15 yards after you make the extra point to kick off. I think you should penalize them. I think instead when they kneel, they should have to start at the 10 or half the distance to the goal, the 12 and a half. I don't like that rule. I think that needs to be changed. Could someone please tell the offensive coordinator to get a decent blocking fullback for Devito? Yeah. Charles says you could pretty much replace Tommy's last name with any Italian deli meat. Pedro says, hey, Chris, did you see the NFL will send a game to my Brazil in my city in Sao Paulo? Hope our Giants play here. That's awesome. Congratulations. They've been trying to sprinkle it all throughout overseas, right? They've been in Germany. They've been in Mexico. They spent a lot of games in London. So the NFL is certainly trying to expand their product. So hopefully that happens, man. Hopefully you get an opportunity. Sai Guy says, I agree with you that the penalty will be assessed in the kickoff is stupid. Yeah, I think it's a common sense solution. I'm surprised they didn't think of it. Like when I'm watching the game, I'm like, that should be the penalty, especially now with the new rules. Like before, when you're kicking off from the 30, more understandable because there weren't nearly as many touchbacks. But now that you're allowing guys to take fair catches at the 10-yard line if they want to, and they start at the 25, where's the penalty? Like, there's literally no penalty. So, to me, it's just common sense. Stan says, hey, Chris, do you think the Giants need to have a battle for the quarterback spot next season during training camp and preseason? I mean, I don't think Jones is just going to be handed the job. But again, I don't know if he's going to be healthy, right? I don't know if he's going to be healthy to start the year. Scott says, one rule I'd like to see changed is if the pass interference penalty, let's make it a 15-yard instead of a spot foul. So, yeah, you want the college rules? I'm hit or miss with that. The other thing I think about a lot when I'm watching games, like when a team's inside like the 10-yard line before the half, under like 15 seconds, if I was a defensive coordinator, I would literally just tell my cornerbacks to just tackle the wide receivers. I'd be like, they're going to get a field goal anyway. Just make sure they don't get a touchdown. I hope all you guys get called for pass interference penalties. Let them waste 5 seconds. Like, that's what I would do if I was a defensive coordinator. That's another thing I think about when I'm watching games. Like, they should just have a pass interference penalty. Obviously not from within the end zone, but maybe an illegal contact penalty, 5 yards up the field. Make them waste 6-7 seconds off the clock, and they can't get a touchdown. Things like that I think about too. What if they don't take the touchback? Yeah, but Raymond, why wouldn't you take the touchback? If they're kicking from the 50, they're gonna get you a lot quicker than they normally would from the 35. What's the incentive to not take the touchback? Of course you're gonna take the touchback. Let's see. What's up, Scott, man? Thanks for popping in. The problem is Daniel Jones has a lot of loyal fanboys. It's pretty scary. I think he is done next season, though. I don't know. I mean, obviously, listen, I don't even like the term fanboys. They're Giants fans. They're rooting for their quarterback. I don't know. I think people just root for their quarterback. That's it, man. I'm loyal to whoever the Giants quarterback is. I want him to do well. Let's see. Michael says, I truly believe that the contract has put a ton of pressure on DJ, and that's the reason for his brutal season. $40 million is a ton of money, and he needed to perform at a high level this season. That might be part of it. I thought Carl Banks brought up a really good point when I had him on the channel that I didn't think about. To be honest with you, I thought it was a great point. That I think the way that Dave, and I'm not trying to make excuses for Daniel Jones. He didn't play well this year. And he had a, and I understand he's missing Thomas and everything. But I do think his Dable's handling of Daniel Jones early on in the season in the Cowboys game, when he left him out there with nobody else, all the starters went to the bench. Pouring rain, you're down 40-0, and you leave Daniel Jones in the game. And I thought Carl Banks brought up a really good point there. Carl's like, I think that crippled Daniel Jones' confidence. And he might not be wrong about that. That to me, Dable's had some head-scratching moves this year. That to me was by far his worst job of coaching this year. Another horrible decision, and I'm Team Dable. I love Dable. I want him to be the coach here for the next 10 years, hopefully. But another horrible decision by the coaching staff before the year started. How do you go into the year without a punt returner? How do you go into the year without a punt returner? You had Eric Gray returning punts, who clearly was not capable of doing it. How do you not go into the year without a punt returner? So he's definitely done some things this year where I've been about when it comes to Brian Dable. But overall, I still love him. I think that the team is definitely fighting for him down the stretch, and I still think he's going to be a really good coach for this football team long term. Chris, get Carl to bring Cave on. That would be great. I never want to bother Carl though. Well, I'm gonna tell you what. I don't think Bad Dog's broken the news yet. I'm just gonna say it. Whatever. You guys will see it on Thursday. Bad Dog's channel, Talking Giants this week. We got another former Giant coming on. The show. Take a guess, guys. Take a guess. I'll give you a hint. It is before I started watching the Giants. I started watching the Giants in the mid-90s. Didn't get to watch this guy play. Got another former Giant coming on the channel on Thursday for Talking Giants. Nope, not Lawrence. I obviously got to watch Lawrence Tynes, so not Lawrence Tynes. Not Lawrence Tynes. I wish it was Lawrence Taylor. Not Lawrence Taylor. Not Lawrence Taylor. Knicks Nation hit it. Knicks Nation hit it. There it is. Leonard Marshall. Leonard Marshall coming on the channel. He's going to be on Talking Giants with Bad Dog and me on Thursday at 8 p.m. He's going to be on for an hour. So, yeah, we're gonna have Leonard Marshall on. So excited about that. So get his thoughts on the team. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just got inducted into the New York Giants Ring of Honor last year. So, awesome. Yeah, awesome. Let's see. When Jones comes back, do you still play Devito? Jones ain't coming back this year, so that's not a question until next year. And I got to see what we do in the draft. Stan says our key pieces that we need to keep in my opinion, are Kayvon, Tibbs. Let me keep reading. Kayvon, Tibbs, Sexy, Dexy, Pinnock, Barkley, Wandell, Bobby Okereke, Aziz. I don't think Aziz is a guy that is a lock at all that we're going to keep. He gets hurt too much. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, I think you hit on it. I mean, all of them are young players that are under cost-effective contracts that are other than, of course, well, did you say Andrew Thomas? You had to have said Andrew Thomas. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think those are, well, one guy you didn't, oh, you did, Bobby Okereke. Yeah. Micah McFadden maybe is at least trending towards being a guy. We'll see what we do with Xavier McKinney. Who didn't you mention there? Oh, you forgot a big one. You forgot a big one. You can't leave this guy off, my man. Stan, my man. Are they closed on Sunday or what? Where's Deontay Banks? Where's Deontay Banks? Come on, man. Where's Deontay Banks? Let's see what we got. JMS too. JMS certainly a part of the future, for sure. And Pirate King says, how much do you think Joe is willing to give up to get a quarterback in the draft? It all depends on how much he likes the quarterback. If he thinks there's a Pat Mahomes in this draft, a lot. Nerve Swag says, Chris, thoughts? Dude, first off, if you're asking for my thoughts on Devito, I love it. It's fun. It gives me a reason to be happy to watch the New York Giants again this year. It was not fun watching this team until the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I love it. My thoughts on the Shohei Ohtani deal. I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke that is allowed to happen in Major League Baseball. It's a joke. Because here's the thing. When it happens in football or basketball, at least there is a penalty. There's a penalty because there's a salary cap. And eventually, you have to pay the piper. You see teams do it all the time with Jalen Hurts. You see, where they severely backload the contracts. The Shohei Ohtani deal, he's basically getting a pension. And it's not going to affect the Dodgers at all in terms of their payroll for the next 10 years. It's a joke. Should not be allowed to happen in baseball. Should not be allowed to happen. He's basically playing for free in terms of I know in the future they're going to have to pay him the money. But what do the Dodgers care if he wins with three World Series? It's a joke. Shouldn't be allowed. It's basically like the Bobby Bonilla deal on steroids. It's a joke. Shouldn't be allowed to happen. And the other thing, it doesn't hurt. The one thing that they try to do to have a competitive balance in baseball, even though there's heavyweights and there's teams that are not in terms of the ability to spend. There is a penalty if you go over a certain threshold. Like you have to pay double after you go over a certain amount, and then that money gets distributed to the poor teams. Essentially, that doesn't apply to that now, right? Because that money doesn't go towards their budget until after he retires. So I hate that. I think it's bad. I think it's stupid, and I think a lot of teams are going to try to do it now. Let's see. Do you think the Mets get Yamamoto? Yes, I do. I think in the end they will get Yamamoto. JBX says, "Go Giants! Devito is doing great stuff. These last few games can say why he is Jones' backup. Keep up the great. He's definitely gonna be Jones' backup next year if they don't draft a quarterback. I agree. He's gonna be. He's definitely cemented himself as a backup. Bluegrass says players agreement allows it, but players don't want to wait on the money, so it's on the players. I mean, if I'm a player, I don't mind it. He's still gonna get $700 million. He's just gonna get it in 10 years. The baseball union is by far the strongest union, not just in sports. It's one of the strongest unions in the country. It's a very strong players union, and that's why you don't have salary caps, right? So, yeah, it is what it is, but I don't like that. I don't think teams should be allowed to do that. Where do you think? I think Yamamoto's going to be a Met. I really do. I think Yamamoto's going to be a Met because Steve Cohen's got to do something. He's the richest owner in the sport. The Mets have been heavily going after him. He's tight with Senga. I think he'll be a Met when it's all said and done. I think he'll be a Met. Let's see. Guaranteed money in baseball is the problem. Yeah, well, that's never going to change, Bluegrass, because like you just said, the players' union, that's not going to change. But what's funny is there's more injuries in baseball now than any other sport. Now, maybe not, but there's a ton of injuries, especially when it comes to pitchers. So, I mean, if your argument is that players get hurt in football, they shouldn't get guaranteed contracts. Well, it's the same thing for baseball. Like if you don't get 2 Tommy John surgeries in your career, it's a revelation. College guy says, do you think Tommy D can win 1 or 2 games against the Eagles? Not 2, maybe 1. You never know. Maybe he could steal a game. Probably not, but definitely not. I don't think we're sweeping the Eagles. If we don't pick a quarterback, what position is most needed? Allison, thank you for popping in. What position is most needed if we don't take a quarterback? I mean, that's a good question. You could, based off the strengths of this draft, because I think you could argue several positions. I think you could argue corner. I think you could argue edge. I think you could argue wide receiver. And I think you could argue offensive line. But based off the strength of this draft, if you're asking me in the first round, I would say wide receiver. Because I think that there are three legitimate top 10 pick talents in this draft at the wide receiver position. And it's a clear need for the Giants. We don't have a number one. So I think there are three legitimate number one type wide receivers in this draft. So I would say, just based on the strength of the draft, based on our needs, based on the importance of the position, if you're asking me strictly first round, if it's not quarterback, I think it's wide receiver. Let's see. But you can make an argument for every position that I said. And at the end of the day, the wide receiver is not going to mean much if we can't block. Stanley says, hey, Chris, why the national media is saying now the Giants got three franchise quarterbacks in Devito over Jones? Got their franchise. I don't see anybody saying that. Who's saying that? Who's saying that the Giants definitely have their franchise quarterback with Tommy DeVito? I think it's very much up in the air whether or not he's even a capable starter in the NFL. Let's see. Tina, do you think the Giants go Adunze or Neighbors, whoever is available if the quarterbacks are gone when they're picking? Yeah, I think both those are two of the three. Obviously, I was also talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., but those were two of the three wide receivers that I was talking about. What's up, Miz, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Daniel Jones stands apologist wanted Dable fired. Really? Why? Why would Daniel Jones stands / apologist want Dable fired? That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I'm not. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I didn't think the two correlated. But if you were a Daniel Jones fan or a stan, why would you want the only thing that's going good for Daniel Jones to be fired? Brian Dable is a very good play caller. That doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, because they blame everything but him for his flaws? Yeah. Was great game energy. Kid DeVito has brought fire back to this team. Kids, I love him. It's a great story, man. I wouldn't fire Dable or Joe Shane, but I think they have to draft a quarterback. I think eventually they're going to have to draft a quarterback. I just don't know if it's going to be this year. It definitely could be. I just am not sold now that it's for sure going to be this year now after what's happened the last couple of weeks. Nothing to do with DeVito. It's everything to do with draft position. We'll see. What's up, Mr. Grocery? What's up, bro? What a dub. Good to see the Giants have some positive consistency. Love it. That's it, man. 3 in a row, baby. Let's go. Let's go, man. I will try to look into it, Bliss fan. I'll try to look into it before I go live next time. I don't know why you're blocked. Maybe somebody blocked you by accident. Thoughts on Waller? Will he be back with the Giants? Yeah, he'll be back with the Giants next year. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, and I haven't looked at his contract since before the year started, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the Giants are on the hook for a large portion of Waller's contract before the year starts next year. So, yeah, I think Waller will be back next year. Matter of fact, let me look at it before I say that. Let me look at his contract. I'm pretty sure. I think they actually backloaded some of it before the year started. So I'm pretty sure that he'll be back. Let me look at his contract. Waller next year is I think he should. I think he'll be back. He's 14.4 against the cap if you keep him, and he's 7.8 against the cap if you cut him. So if you cut him, you save, what is that? 6.5, almost 7 million. I think he'll be back. For one more year. I don't think he'll be back after that. I think they'll cut him the following year when they save 10 million if they cut him. But I'm leaning he'll be back next year. I think Waller will be back next year for 1 year. Yeah, you save 6.5 if you cut him. I would keep him for 1 more year. Let's see. But I don't think he'll be back more than a year. Ufangul, Tommy Cutlets will take us all the way. Let's go. Yeah, well, the way that they structured it, when you look at the contract, I saw somebody say that I thought it was a 1-year deal. The way that they structured it, it says potential out 2024, but it's the cap, it's the dead cap. It's 7.8 to cut him, and it's 14.4 against the cap to keep him. So I think if I'm Shane, I keep him for that, because I ask myself, even if I get 10 games of Waller next year, even if I get 8 games of Waller next year, am I going to get a player that's better for $6 million? Probably not. So I think I keep him for 1 more year. And then after that, I think I move off of him. Let's see. There should be a legit quarterback competition in training camp. There might be. Do you think Devito could become the starter? I don't know why everyone's overlooking that possibility. I'm not going to rule anything out. I'm just not expecting it. I'm just enjoying the moment right now. But listen, crazy things happen, right? Listen, Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft. Tony Romo was undrafted. So crazy things happen. I'm not going to rule anything out, but obviously I'm not going to expect it, but I'm not going to rule it out. Chris, how confident are you in Bullock kicking that field goal last night? Not confident at all. He missed a 40-yarder earlier in the game, and there was a lot more pressure. I think one thing that eased my mind a little bit was the fact that they didn't have a timeout. Because if they had a timeout and they froze him, I just had a feeling he was going to miss the kick. I remember saying that during the live stream. I said, "Oh God, they're gonna freeze him." And then when I looked, I'm like, "Oh, they got no timeout, so that's good." Had they had that timeout, he might have missed the kick. I was not confident at all that he was going to make that kick. Xerox says, "Love the hit on Savage by Tommy last night." Dude, listen, he's fun. It's a fun story, man. That's all I'm going to say, man. It's a fun story. I'm going to continue to root for the guy. Yeah, Gano will definitely be back next year. Gano's under contract. They gave him a contract extension. He'll definitely be back next year. J.J. McCarthy seems like a giant. Love the upside. He's young, and Dable is the quarterback whisperer. Again, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to feel about these guys. If I was taking a quarterback and we're going to be picking where I think we're going to be picking, and I wasn't trading up, and you said, "Chris, you have to take a quarterback," and he was there, I'd probably take him based on the quarterbacks that I think will be off the board. But I don't know. I don't know if we're going to take a quarterback. I'm not saying we won't. Like last year, I knew we're not. The year before, I knew we're not. This year, it's much more up in the air. Like, I don't know. Let's see. Let's hope Devito can become a solid backup. I think he can, Joe. I really do. I think he can become a solid backup. I'm not going to go any further than that right now, but I think he can become a solid backup. I'm confident saying that now. I do. I think he can be a solid backup. You would take Daniels or Penix? Well, this is me based off the assumption that I think Jaden Daniels is going to go much earlier than people think. And I thought that – I saw as recently as like 3 weeks ago that people had Jaden Daniels going in the second round. I think Jaden Daniels is going in the top 5. He's going to be the Anthony Richardson of this year's draft class. He's going to be that guy that people's jaws drop at the combine. They're going to see how he runs in shorts. They're going to see his raw tools, and they're going to say, "I can make something out of that." He's going to be a top 5 pick. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be a top 5 pick. Stan says, "I really hope DeVito can become a starter. I saw him in Syracuse, and he was solid." I mean, I think we all do. I mean, that'd be great for the Giants if he becomes a starter. Sounds like a formula for a bust. It's definitely high risk, high reward type prospect. But there's always a team that looks at and let's be fair, John. I mean, he won the Heisman Trophy. He had a great year. But I think teams are just going to look at his raw physical attributes, and they're going to say that guy could be the next, even though I don't see him in the same light as a guy like Josh Allen, or that, because he's not built that way for me. He doesn't have that type of arm strength. But people are going to see him and they're going to be like, he could be the next upper echelon quarterback just based off of his traits. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But somebody's going to take the swing. Let's see. Sounds like you're talking about Zach Wilson. I mean, you could go both ends of the spectrum with that. Sounds like you're talking about Zach Wilson. Sounds like you're talking about Josh Allen. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Let's see. Tate, if you had to pick which one, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, or Penix? If I had to pick one, I would take Jaden Daniels. But I'm also not a guy that's in love with Penix, and I'm also not a guy that is definitely not in love with Bo Nix. I don't know if I'm in love with Jaden Daniels, but I think out of those three, he has the highest ceiling. Rickson, man, thank you very much, man. No way DJ starts this year. Starts next year. That would be stupid. I'd rather have Gardner Minshew. I can list 7 backups who are better than DJ. No way. The stadium was loud. We'll see. I mean, he's obviously going to be here next year. He's under contract. They can't cut the guy. I'm still leaning he will start if he's healthy to start the year, but he is far from a shoo-in to last even half the season next year as a starter, even if he stays healthy. Like, he's going to have to produce and play well if he is the starter to start the year next year, even if they don't draft the first-round quarterback. So I think that's where we're at with DJ at the most in terms of what he's going to get. I don't think next year, if he is the starter to start the year, the Giants are just going to roll out the red carpet and they're going to say, well, if he gets, we're going to let him grow throughout the course of the year. No. I think they're at the point where they're going to say, well, if he's not playing well, week 4, week 5, week 6, we will easily make the change. But if I had to guess, if he's healthy to start the year, he will be the starter. Even if we draft the first-round quarterback, I think he would be the starter. Obviously, he would be replaced at some point in the season. But again, that's based off the assumption that he's healthy to start the year. Let's see. Who's our running back next year? Probably Barkley. I think he'll be back. I think he wants to be a Giant. I think they'll get it done. Dr. Bernstein says the difference between Tommy DeVito and DJ is that's for sure. DeVito is a winner while Jones is stiff without charisma. What do you think? I've never been a guy that reads too much into personality. As a fan, it's a lot more fun to root for a guy like DeVito for sure. But I mean, Eli Manning didn't have a personality. Let's be honest. I mean, he's shown it a lot more since he's retired. But he was never, that was always the big knock on Eli Manning. So I've never been a big guy in terms of, I don't need my quarterback to have this, great personality. I just want you to go out there and win football games and handle New York, the right way, which is not easy to do, especially when you're a quarterback. So I don't care about that when it comes to Daniel Jones. The personality doesn't bother me at all. It's, can you stay on the field and can you get better? Can you get to that? Like, I think Daniel Jones last year, I'm going to continue to say it. I do think it was the right decision to bring him back because I don't think we had much of a choice. You could certainly argue in hindsight, franchise tag, but I think last year he showed enough where I was like, okay, let me see if he could grow further. Second year in an offensive scheme with Brian Daboll. It hasn't happened. Due in large part a lot to him and several other variables. But to me, he's not that. He's definitely not a guy that I'm going to put my faith in anymore where I'm like, yeah, he could be a franchise quarterback. No, I'm off that train. And some of it has to do with the injuries, and a lot of it has to do with he's just been inconsistent as a quarterback since he's been in the NFL. To me, Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson, in terms of play, I'm not talking about personality. I think Daniel Jones is much better for the New York market than that when it comes to Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is horrible in terms of the media and everything else. But in terms of his play on the field, they're like identical. Zach Wilson, once every 4 games, you will say, oh my God. Like last week, I'm watching the game, horrible conditions, rainy, windy. He's making throws that, like most quarterbacks in the league, aren't going to be able to make in those conditions. The Chiefs game, he looked great. And it's the same thing with Jones. Like once every 4 or 5 games, you're like, that's why he went 6th overall. But you don't see it enough. It's not consistent enough. And that's where I'm at with Jones. I got behind him last year. I love what he was able to do for this team last year. I thought he got the most out of a really crummy situation. But listen, at the end of the day, he's not irreplaceable. And that's where I'm at with Daniel Jones. But at the same time, I also don't want Joe Shane to force a quarterback pick. So, it'll be an interesting offseason. What's up, Hirsch, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Yeah, he's under contract. He'll be back next year. Stanley says, hey, Chris, have you seen Michael Pratt, the quarterback of Tulane? I have not. No, I don't think Bo Nix is reply. I don't want Bo Nix. I would be upset if we drafted Bo Nix. I will never have another Daniel Jones reaction to a draft pick, but I would not be happy if we took Bo Nix. But I would still hold out hope. Obviously, I'm not. Silly enough to think that I am a better evaluator or whatever than Joe Shane is. So obviously, I would be like, okay, I hope that he's right. But I would not be thrilled if we took Bo Nix. Daniel Jones' future will be determined by Daniel Jones next season. Everything else is talk. He might get the chance, Joe. He definitely might get the chance. And listen, if he does, I hope he runs with it. And Brian, thank you very much, man. Not for nothing, but no disrespect over here. But Kenley's New York Giants head office, Stu Gatz, please, for the love of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, please take another edge right tackle combo like 2022. So yeah, Brian wants that. I mean, it worked. Half of it worked out in 2022. Half of it didn't. But you want that Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau part 2. But hopefully both work out this time around. I don't think we're going tackle. I really don't. And I'm not against that idea. I'm not against shifting Evan Neal to the guard. But Joe Shane is pretty honest when he talks. He's pretty straightforward. I think he's sold on Evan Neal. I still think and maybe he's being too stubborn. But in his press conference, he was pretty direct when he talked about his plans for Evan Neal next year. But he said he's going to be a tackle. So I don't think we're taking an early tackle next year. Now, we may take an early guard second round. I don't think we're taking an early tackle. I think he's going to stick with Evan Neal year 3 and see what he's got. But I'm certainly for taking an early edge. Next year. It's a need. But thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. Let's see. Imagine a crappy quarterback getting a 6 year to prove himself. I've never seen that ever. I mean, let's see what happens. Let's see how the offseason plays out. I'm not going to be a guy that's just going to go into the offseason and be like, oh, if they don't take a quarterback in the first round, I'm going to flip out. No. I want my GM to be sold on the quarterback that he takes. I don't want him to force it. Let's see where we're picking. Dan says, line played pretty well last night. Line played great last night overall. It was probably not as great as the stats suggested because our run blocking wasn't really good. I mean, Saquon Barkley had a couple of really good runs on that drive where he fumbled the ball. And Devito did a good job in terms of avoiding pressure on a number of plays. But the line definitely had one of their better performances of the year, if not their best performance of the year. You didn't really. They didn't get one sack all night, and they have some good pass rushers on that team. Let's see. Giants will end up likely with a top 10 pick. More than likely, yes. More than likely. Back end of the top 10, if I had to guess. Sean says, what's up? And if our Giants miraculously make the playoffs and DeVito's continues to, I don't think we're making the playoffs. But I hope we do. Will the Giants be headed for a quarterback controversy next season? If the Giants won out, yes. Yes, there would be a quarterback controversy. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Because even if they handed Daniel Jones the job next year, which is possible, if we went on an unforeseen run and made the playoffs, there would be a ton of pressure to start the year if Jones struggled to make a quick change. So, yeah, absolutely. If Tommy DeVito won 7 straight games and 2 of them were against the Philadelphia Eagles, of course. I would welcome that with open arms. I would love a quarterback controversy next year because that means the New York Giants made the playoffs. So, yes, there would be a quarterback controversy. Let's see. And Bookend says, here's my goal with DJ. I don't think he's going to be the Giants' long-term quarterback, but I like the guy and hope I'm wrong. I can always, I mean, I think that's where I'm at too. I think that's where I've been at for the majority of Daniel Jones's career. Last year, I started to believe in him more than I ever have. But I've, for the majority of his career, I've never been hook, line, and sinker. But I've always, had the mindset of I hope he proves me wrong. I'm not, that's it, man. I'm gonna roll with him and hope he proves me wrong. And if he's the starter next year, it's gonna be the same mentality. I'm not gonna go into the year hoping he bombs so I could get a replacement quarterback. No, I'm gonna go into the year hoping that he plays great and the Giants go on an unforeseen run and win a Super Bowl. That's always been my mindset with Daniel Jones. Let's see. Jaden says this Devito story is fun, but he ain't it, and Daniel Jones is a simpleton. Give us Jaden Daniels. He's Lamar and Vic combined. Relax. I mean, I hope if we draft him, but relax. Relax, man. Relax. Michael Vick is one of the most naturally gifted quarterbacks I've ever seen. Obviously, he wasn't very smart off the field. And he wasn't great in terms of the in-between game, but in terms of just raw athleticism and arm strength, it's one of the most naturally gifted quarterbacks I've ever seen. Relax. Let's see. Last year, Jones was asked to read half the field. This year, he was asked to read the full field and failed miserably. DeVito. Yeah, fair. I honestly think it's over for DJ, not because of DeVito, but mainly because he's now just injury prone. I mean, it's certainly leaning that way. If not next year, definitely the year after that. I'm sorry, but I'm just dead inside next year if I have to hear all offseason on how they're behind you. Listen, Miguel, I'm going to rock with whatever they do. And I'm going to understand whatever path they take, because I do think there's logic behind, depending on where we're picking, not forcing a quarterback pick. But what I'll say is this. As a content creator, as a guy that comes on here and talks about the Giants, as much as I like Daniel Jones because he's a Giant and for me, he's an easy guy to root for, I want the Giants to replace Daniel Jones selfishly, because I don't want to. I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to debate about it. I'm sick of it. I want a fresh start, but I don't know if it's what's best for the team. Like I need to see the situation. I need to see where we're picking. Yeah, I don't want to force quarterback pick. I'm going to continue to say that. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to go into next year being like, well, let's see how Daniel Jones does year 6. Let's see if he can stay healthy all year and turn the corner and become that top 6-7 quarterback in the league that we were all hoping he could take that leap this year. I don't want to continue to talk about it, but I recognize it's a possibility. It's a possibility. What's up, Dog and Drugs, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Do you agree Barkley gets rattled every time he has the ball on a winning drive? Maybe a little bit. Denzio, last year he ran out of bounds like 6 times. This year he fumbled. Maybe a little bit. But he's also had some great game closing drives. So I don't know. I think it was just a fluke play. I really do. I think it was just a fluke play yesterday. I mean, that's fair. But Knicks Nation, what I'll say is, what happens if you force another quarterback pick? You're just going to get another Daniel Jones. So I don't want that. So I want, if they're going to spend a first round pick on a quarterback, if they're going to trade up for a quarterback, I want them to be in love with that quarterback. I am not going to go into this draft being like, oh, well, I don't care if there's 4 quarterbacks off the board. Take the next best one. That's just not my mindset. It's too important of a position. It's too big of a commitment. I'm not of that mindset. I don't want them to force it. Let's see. Injury proneness and being stiff as a personality are related. TD seems loose and healthy compared to DJ. People want to follow TD. I definitely think the team is buying into DeVito. I think they're buying into it. It's fun. Hey, Chris, when will you talk playoffs? When we win next 2 games, then I'll start to talk about it. It's too early. We got to win another 2 games. James says they are going to have to draft a quarterback either way. So I agree. At some point, I think the discussion is first round. But I agree. At some point, we will be drafting a quarterback. I just don't know if it's going to be first round anymore. I don't want to draft the quarterback next year. I think it's best to see what we have in DJ and Tommy. I don't know. It all depends. We'll see. I wouldn't be stunned if that's what we go into next year with a developmental quarterback drafted in day 2 or 3. Wouldn't be stunned. I talked about that earlier. I think it's a joke, the Ohtani contract. If Barkley doesn't fumble, Devito doesn't become a hero. That's a good way to look at it, Joe. I think we'd still have a lot of momentum behind the Devito thing, but yes, it definitely took it to another level that he had the game-winning drive. What's going on, Milkman, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. I don't want to draft the quarterback till 2026. Little bulldozer wants the next Manning. Giants need to make the next Color Rush Classics in full-time jerseys. Why the hell are we drafting a quarterback if Cutlets is playing this well? Jabari's all about it. You know what, Jabari? That's why I don't want to talk about it right now. I know it has to continue to be a topic of conversation because it's such an important position, and we potentially will be in a position to draft one. So I understand why it's still a huge topic and a thought on Giants fans' minds. But for me, at this point, like I was at a point where I thought we were going to be in that spot, but now I don't know where we're going to be. So for me, I just want to see the rest of the year play out before I start to say, yeah, I think we should take a quarterback. I want to see the rest of the year play out. And it has as much to do with where we could potentially be picking as Devito himself. Let's see. Outside of Caleb Williams and MHJ, who's your favorite prospect, regardless of where we pick? Too early. I have to look at it. Right now, I'd probably say Drake May. I didn't watch a ton of him until about 3 weeks ago, and I think he should be the second pick after. I would probably say Drake May. I think MHJ might be the best player in this entire draft, but I wouldn't take him over quarterbacks. Let's see. We as fans need to dream the dream. Devito the GOAT. Let's go, man. I really want Neighbors. Call me delusional, but the last 3 first-round receivers out of LSU are Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Odell Beckham. Wow, that's a crazy stat, Dan. I didn't know that. Obviously, I knew all those guys went to LSU, but I didn't know they were the last 3 guys to come out of LSU. Obviously, LSU is known for producing great receivers. Ohio State's known for producing great wide receivers. Listen, I would love him, depending on where we're picking, but I would love him if it's in the right spot. James says, I feel Jones is never the guy, but rooted for him to be. But after 5 years, see the same, no progression. Tommy DeVito is a backup. Teams have no tape on him, but now 3-4 games, they aren't familiar yet. Listen, I'm not, in the moment, I'm all about it. I love this. It's fun. I'm all about it. I'm going to enjoy it for the rest of the year. I'm certainly not sold that Tommy DeVito is the franchise quarterback yet. But listen, let's continue to evaluate him. Let's continue to see how he plays throughout the rest of the year. We should trade our first and 1 second to get further up in the draft to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. I do not want to trade up for Marvin Harrison. I love Marvin Harrison Jr., but I don't want to trade up for him. You think Jaden Daniels' skill set is similar to Michael Vick? I don't. I think he could be really good. I don't think he has the athleticism that Michael Vick did. I also don't think he has the arm strength that Michael Vick did. I understand that they're a similar style of quarterback. I don't think he's that level. Michael Vick was a freak. He was a freak. He just didn't work out. He was a bit of a disappointment, in my opinion, in terms of his career in the NFL. He should have been better. And he was great, but he should have been better. Let's see. I genuinely think MHJ will be a top 5 wide receiver within 1 year. Dude is unreal. I agree with that. Um, you think he's more athletic than Vic? I don't. I don't. Mike Vick or Cam Newton? Cam Newton. Cam Newton. Peak Cam Newton was elite. I mean, so was Vic with the Eagles, but Cam Newton. The problem with Cam Newton, it was too short lived, right? He only had like 3 high end years, like elite years, but peak Cam Newton over Mike Vick. Let's see. Dream the dream. We don't run the team. We run the dream. Let's go, Tommy touchdowns. Vince Young or Colin Kaepernick in their prime? I mean, Colin Kaepernick. Vince Young was awful. He won Rookie of the Year, but he was awful. He's a great college player. Colin Kaepernick went to a Super Bowl, and he was a big part of that. Colin Kaepernick. But guys, I'm going to close this out. I had a lot of fun talking to you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed your Victory Tuesday. I'll be live with Bad Dog on Thursday. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to have Leonard Marshall on the channel, and then we'll be live. And word says still standing. Let's go, man. And then I'm going to be live, obviously, for the game on this channel on Sunday, which is going to be fun. Big game. Giants coming up with 3 straight wins. We'll see if Devito could keep it up. We'll see if the Giants can get to 4 straight wins, and hope you guys are having fun as Giants fans because it's been way too long. Love all you guys, man. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for talking. We got to talk some movies. We got to talk some Giants. Always love hanging out with you guys, man. Always love hanging out with you guys. Take some phone calls. Yeah, that's probably something I'll do in the offseason. The problem with that, Cheppy, when I do that, it gets goofy, man. It gets goofy sometimes. But I want to have some in the offseason. I'm definitely going to make an effort to provide you guys with a lot of content this offseason because it's an important offseason. So I'm looking forward this year to really talk to Giants. Right now, I'm kind of in a limbo state, just having fun with the Devito thing, but kind of in a limbo state, just waiting to see how the rest of the year plays out and really start to be able to analyze what I think this team could and probably should do in the offseason, man. But thank you guys for being here, man. Kurt, be good. Tyrick, be good. Scotty D, be good. Johnny, be good, man. Johnny, be good. Appreciate it, Twisted, man. Thanks for being here, buddy. Appreciate all you guys. Would you do a trade with the Bears for Field? I don't get this, man. And I'm not knocking Justin Fields. I'm not the biggest fan of Justin Fields. You know that, before the year started. I said he was the most overrated player in the NFL before the year started. And that has nothing to do with what I think he potentially could be. I see what people see, but people were anointing him a top. I think he was ranked like 85th in terms of the top 100 players in the NFL going into the year. But I don't understand why there's this push for, I think it's a small portion of Giants fans, but the trade for Justin Fields, I don't understand it. If you were to trade for Justin Fields, he's got 1 more year left on his rookie contract, and you'd be doing the same thing that Dave Gettleman did when he traded for Leonard Williams. You would have no negotiating power. If you traded for him, you'd have to give him a $200 million contract right away, right out of the gate. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Justin Fields is a complete unknown at this point. He makes some highlight plays. He looked good at times. There's potential, but he's a complete unknown at this point. Why would I trade for a guy that I'm going to have to give a $200 million contract who's proven very little in the NFL when I can just trade up and draft a quarterback and pay him nothing? Why would I do that? I want nothing to do with Justin Fields. But be good, guys. Brian, man, quick poll. Say quarterback in the chat if you've ever played quarterback. Not for my high school football team, no. With my friends, sure, but not for my high school football team. That's what we did with Joe. Well, that's not what we did with Jones, Knicks Nation. It's completely different. We didn't trade draft capital to bring in Daniel Jones. We retained Daniel Jones. That's different. You'd be giving up draft capital, and after you have Jones on your books already for the next 2 years, you'd be committing more cap to the quarterback position and committing further to it. Why would I do that? When we signed Daniel Jones, we were picking 25th. We weren't in a position to draft a quarterback. If you were to do this hypothetical trade for a guy like Justin Fields, you'd be surrendering a first-round pick. You wouldn't have a first-round pick, and you'd be bypassing the opportunity to potentially draft a good quarterback prospect. It's completely different situations. But, guys, be good. Appreciate all you guys. Have a good one, guys. Be good. Have a good night.